YouTube. Welcome back to the Seven Generation Podcast. I got a good one today. We're going to get started with our intro music here. How we doing, y'all?
Yeah.
Doing great, doing great.
So we are live on YouTube, but we're going to make sure to have this uploaded to all the major platforms after the end of the podcast. And this is going to be a good one today because I've been wanting to do this for about a year now since we talked over last summer.
It's been a
Yeah,
year?
it's been a year,
Wow.
coming up on a year. So we have our Indigenous Traditions clothing line. Two geniuses have joined the
Hi.
Seven Generation Podcast. And I'm super excited to have you all share your story, how you came together, how you built this really cool clothing line. And both of you have really interesting backgrounds. And I think that the listeners today are going to really benefit from learning about your stories and learning out how you started your business. There's just so much that goes into starting a business.
Mhm.
And both of you have such unique backgrounds. I know we have an artist here and we have a business-minded person here, somebody who's been, working in Indian country really for decades now, right? Since you're a teenager, practically. So
Yes.
till death.
Pretty much. Mhm.
So let me get started here and just allow you both just to introduce yourselves to our listeners today.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Yendi Nieto. I am Mexican on my dad's side and Guatemalan on my mom's side.
Yeah, and I'm Johnny Nieto from the Tule River Indian Reservation over here next to Porterville, California. Central California, really, the whole Yokuts area. So that's where I come from, both of my parents.
All right, and that's where we're coming from today. So big shout out to the Yokuts people, the Mono people of the Sierra foothills,
AKA the Eagle Mountain Casino Tribe. That's how we're
aka
labeled
Eagle
as.
Mountain. There we go. I like it. Shout out to Eagle Mountain. Yeah, so I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while now. I'm really excited to have both of you here. And I want to start with Johnny. I've known you for, quite a few years now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background in the casino business and what you've done as a tribal chairman? I mean, you've done quite a bit in a short time.
Yeah, so right now I'm at the age of 31 now, right?
Still a
So yeah,
youngster.
still
Oh
young.
man, really young.
Young with the old mind and old bones. So dealing with tribal people, helping them out, and dealing with other people across the board. So always had somewhere at the table for the tribe growing up, and my family was very strong growing up as tribal leaders. So I wanted to take that path in that career and actually do something. That's the key word for your tribe. The why not me method is very, very big in our brain. So why not me? We talk, you hear all this stuff about I want to do great, I want to do great, but then that's it.
Mhm.
But where's the action at? Where's the fundamentals at? How do we get things going? Not saying sign, oh, it's approved. No. So you want to take that leap. So I wanted to do all that. I went to college, graduated from Oklahoma State University with my management degree. So that was very huge accomplish that, a lot of people don't see within Indian country or on the reservation. I'm actually from the reservation, Tule River, and seeing everything from dirt roads to concrete, meeting my wife along the way now, and then just seeing coming from the res, I have that perspective, and her having the city perspective. This is where that clothing line kind of bounced together. It bounced together as the urban Indian too. So we take that
Mhm.
all together, we combine it with different perspectives and how to market to the tribal versus non-tribal, to
Mhm.
Indian country as a South, because everybody has their own set rules. Indian country has their
That's
own
right.
different laws, different countries. So me, I'm zoomed in on Tule River. I wanted to represent them. I'm from
Mhm.
there, and I wanted to make it, on the map. That was the main thing. My uncle did that a lot. A lot of my family members did that a lot. But I wanted a degree in my hand to actually
Yeah,
understand and actually could talk to the non-tribal people, the
Mhm.
people that are supposed to be in charge of us,
Mhm.
and actually talk to them and communicate with them, and to
Know what
be
they're
that
saying.
to be that bridge.
that's
Yeah, to
right.
be that bridge for our own tribal people. And we accomplished a lot of stuff. I was elected on our Tule River Tribal Council at the age of 25. Was our CEO of our Tule River Economic Development Corporation. So I got a lot of nonprofit there. A lot of experience running our tribal stuff. So, but back when I was younger, I wanted my own businesses. So clothing line came in company. Also do my own marketing company, which I love the most because there's no products. It's all service based.
Yeah.
Different type of market.
And I want to get into really want to get into that
perfect.
so that way you can promote that as well before the end of the show.
Yeah, so do a lot of marketing, but also wanted to bring all that back home and actually bring it back home for the family, the tribe, and actually do something like I said before, and it's happened.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
happened.
you're both doing great things. So tell us the story. Maybe you can tell us about how you both met. So
Okay.
is this happened
Oh,
at
I
a
love the
powwow?
story.
It's
Yes, we met at
you
a
met
powwow.
met at a powwow. Yeah,
At
tell
my
us.
first powwow that I went to.
So we're talking about your very
And
first powwow.
My very first powwow. So I was going through like an awakening, like me growing up from the city. I was born and raised in LA.
Right.
You know, it's all that city mindset. I was working in a brokerage firm. I was a broker at that time, and I had been at that firm for 7 years. So
Wow.
I was getting kind of burnt out of that lifestyle. So I'm like, okay, well, who am I? Where did my family come from? Like I knew they're from Mexico and from Guatemala, but like what tribe or what little village. And so that's when I started searching for myself, and I kept running into like native culture from here. And so then I found out what a powwow was, where the next one was coming up by where I was living at. And then I went by myself. None of my friends wanted to go. I'm like, I don't
So
know, I'll
you
go
went
by
to this powwow
myself.
by yourself?
By myself.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't know. Something in me was just like, just go. You know, sometimes you feel like you have to take a friend with you and like you won't go without somebody else. Like for the first time, I wasn't scared to go. So I'm like, all right, let's go. And I got introduced to him. Should I go into full detail or just a little quick?
Just go for it.
Yeah, we want full details here. We want all the details.
So I was sitting down on the hay where you shouldn't be sitting at, but all the spectators sit at. I was right there, right in the front where all the dancers were coming in. I was in
Just
the
drooling,
grand
dreaming
entry.
over me.
Yeah,
I
right.
bet. That's why she was there, Johnny. She's put herself there strategically.
I got introduced to him by this lady that I met at that event, and she just kind of like sat there with me, was explaining things to me, and then she said, "Hey, Johnny, come over here." He goes, "Okay." So he came over, and then the lady was like, "Johnny, this is Yendi. Yendi, this is Johnny, and you guys should talk. You guys should like exchange numbers." And I'm like, "What?" And then like I just laughed a little bit. He laughed, and as soon as he walked away, I'm like, "You don't even know me. Why would you do that? You don't know my type, or this and that." And then she goes, "Well, do you have a boyfriend?" I say, "No, but that doesn't matter." She said, "No, just go for it. You need to talk to him. Go talk to him." And I'm like, "No, okay, whatever." I didn't pay attention to her. I just brushed it off, and then they ended up leaving. I was there the whole day, so they ended up leaving me, and then afterwards, I found out that they told Johnny, "Hey, take care of my niece, okay? Take care of her." Once they left, he asked me to go under his canopy, and I sat down there with
TMI,
him.
relax.
No, but his mom and his nephew were there. She was just looking at me like, "Who's this? Who are you?"
Yeah.
And I felt it, but I was just like, I don't care. Like, I'm just here to like watch and learn. And then after that was just it. He walked me to my car after the powwow was over, and he asked for my number. And then it just went from there. Like he was just a funny guy, like just so different from what I was used to in the city. And I think his humor what got me the most. But I was really interested in learning his culture.
Yeah.
And that.
Yeah, such a great
That was
story.
the humor.
And how long ago was this?
2012.
2012. Wow.
Mhm.
And so since then, you now have how many kids?
Two kids.
Two kids.
We're married. Mm-hmm.
Growing a business together.
Yes. And how the business started was that as I was learning the native culture with the powwow protocol, you know, you need to dress appropriate in powwows, not too provocative, right? And so as I was learning, I said I was trying to look for clothes, and I couldn't find anything that was appropriate. If I did find something, I always had to like sew things up, like close some part of the skirt up. So then I started noticing that these businesses had like tribal patterns, and I'm like, well, they don't know what that means or where it comes from, or. And so then I was like, hey, you know what? We should do this. Like, we can do this and take it to powwows where the people are at, and they would understand. And it's going to be clothes that they can wear at powwows, at conferences, at meetings, any special event that they have. And it was going to be right there. But I didn't know how to sew. And so the first thing that I had to do was go buy a sewing machine. Oh, well, I got it because of him. Me not knowing how to sew, he said, "Hey, can you sew me a regalia?" I was like, "Oh, what?" And then he was like, "This is what it needs to be like." I'm like, I don't know. I'll figure it out." And
Boy,
so
you
I
really put her
did.
through it, Johnny.
That was the wife test.
The
Exactly.
ultimate
It's a
test.
big test right there. Hey, here's some regalia. I want you to put this together. You got a week.
I got it to know. I got it
Sounds
done.
generous. A week.
I know, really, really. Nowadays, he gives me like a few hours in advance. I'm like, what the? But it came out crooked and this and that. Like looking back at it, I was like, oh man, like with the experience that I have now, looking back at the first one that I did for him, I was like, oh man, I really tried. I'm like, poor him, but he was all proud of it. He was very proud of it, but I could just see it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I've learned so much and I could do a lot better. And I just didn't know nothing about like the secrets of sewing
Yeah.
or the heat and bond that you could just like stick the patterns on.
So was this like a evolution for you, just kind of learning how to, grow into this artist that you become and this, designer?
So I did like fashion. Like I like dressing up, doing different styles, but as so I had that in me already, but I just didn't know how to create the clothes itself.
Right.
I would tear up jeans and shorts and put some stuff on it, but that was as far as I went before I started sewing.
Right.
And then I just did a lot of YouTube, a lot of reading, trial and error, cutting fabric, sewing it up, undoing it, and just going for it. And I
Yeah.
started off with headbands and scarves. That was like the easy part.
Yeah.
And then from there, it grew on to throwovers, cardigans, men's vest, ribbon shirts, ribbon skirts, and
Now she's doing wedding dresses for Navajos.
oh, I did
Oh,
that. Yeah, I
really?
just had I did a few skirts, some blouses, and some men's vest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Johnny, obviously you grew up, dancing and understanding the culture, understanding regalia. So what were your contributions in terms of her growth as an artist, and how much did you help out with
So
that?
yeah, the designs themselves, seeing the designs, people just don't have stuff on them just to have stuff on them. Every symbol on there has a meaning to it. Everything could be sacred. Some stuff could be your family symbol. So understanding everything that goes into it, you need to know what's what. Meaning the designs where they come from. You could identify somebody just by looking at the regalia and know exactly where they came from. If it's quill work, if it's
Yeah.
beadwork, the logos on them, and you can know for sure. Family designs are a main thing that you see everywhere else. But then I'm on the other side too, looking at how do they people pawn this stuff? People buy regalia, other people buy other people's regalia, and you're just like, oh man, that's heartening to someone who actually knows where that symbol came from, and they see it. And I
Yeah.
talk with plenty of people too on the red road, and just see that. And that's what we decided. We didn't want to do any of that, so we wanted to have all generalized. Everybody could wear it, and to be themselves freely with some indigenized stuff on them.
Yeah.
Indigenized
Yeah,
fashion.
that's what we're looking for. Anybody could put sit and bow on a t-shirt, but that's someone's family member who they're selling. Anybody could do that, and I didn't want to do any of that. I wanted to do our own thing. Meaning, yeah,
Respectfully.
respectfully, yeah, do our own thing respectfully within our own creation, our own brain, our own minds. And yeah, there's a lot of people that still do that and put a native pride. That's all simple, easy stuff, but we wanted to use something, our own stamp on it.
Yeah,
And we're
absolutely.
grateful for everybody who buys from us too, because they actually support. We actually talk to them, and it's actually fun when, oh, I follow you and all this stuff,
I
and you're
know.
like, oh, what's up? And then they all go to her, but I'm me. I know a lot of people, so it kind of gets played out where she gets
Yeah.
all excited and everything, and I'm
I
just like,
do.
yeah, go over there, go talk to Yendi. let me eat this Indian taco real quick. That's just me.
I mean, you've been obviously doing the powwow circuit for years, met just so many different people.
Yeah, all before I was on tribal council too.
Yeah.
And that was funny. Like it was just see everybody, and then now they see me in that leadership role that they knew I was gonna be in. And now they're like, oh yeah, what's up, Johnny? And all that stuff. And there's a lot of smiles when I was in that role, everybody around. There was a lot of proud saying, oh yeah, not just like mooching off you or leeching off you. You know, they're actually
Yeah.
like Babe Ruth called his shot. That was kind of the thing, and they were actually happy, and they know my personality, they know my character, they know my intent on things is always good, because whatever happens, happens, and they were all reaching for it. And also bring up people with you. You know, I rather have the family with me and friends and family with me, but also they need to be involved, not just taking something. I'll get
Yeah.
them involved,
Mhm.
and it also helps them out and their family too. You know, keeping them off the streets or helping them, just staying busy.
Yeah.
Just staying busy, off the drink, off the alcohol, just staying busy. That's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
So let's kind of get into, the ups and downs of, being a business owner and, well, let's start with the ups. Like, what's the best part of doing what both of you do together?
Yes, freedom.
Traveling, well, yeah, freedom too. You can create your own schedule. I can focus on the kids first and then do the business when I can, after they're asleep or when they're in school. um yeah, like I said, you get to travel, you get to do your own schedule. What about you?
Me coming from a business mind, it's just having above the tax line, you get to spend some money as expenses, and then go through the tax line. Then on your bottom line as net income, that's what you have. So it's not only coming out of my check on a payroll check that's already been taxed, and I get the rest of it. I get to move above the tax line and look at my line of what I could use on a car payment, loan, or whatever. Starbucks for her, and it's
Yeah.
just that of what we could do, and then report it after. So that's how
Yeah.
I look at it, business minded and strategically planning. Just the tax write off that you could do
Yeah.
to the business.
So, traveling, I mean, I know, Johnny, you've met like so many people, obviously, in Indian country over the years. For you, who's been the most interesting people you've met along this journey, this path that you've been on?
Even if I were to see these famous people or popular on TikTok or YouTube, I freeze. I'm like, that's that girl.
Yeah.
Does she?
That's that girl. I
She's
forget my
whispering to me.
questions. I could go in with a full I got my list of questions. This is what I'm gonna say. This is what I'm gonna do. As soon as they're right there, I can't. No, I'm not gonna go no more, Johnny. Let's just go. Let's just go.
Hey, you go, get out of the way. Let's go.
So I met Tanya Jo Hall. We were
Okay.
at a powwow in Oklahoma. That was the first time that I seen her. And then I told Johnny, okay, I'm gonna go up to her and say something. But then I froze up and I'm like, no, let's just go. He goes, no, come here. And then
She was sitting right in front of us, like in the powwow.
oh yeah,
So it was right there. She's all freaking out
So she
behind
was like
her.
this close.
I'm just like, she's right there. How was she like your favorite person that you like watching? Just her and her comedians during the time, like years ago. And just like,
And
she's right in
then
front of you. She's all starstruck.
yeah, and then he just goes, hey, she wants to talk to you.
And
I'm
left
like,
her.
yeah, and he just walked away, and I was like, and
Oh, wow.
But her being so nice and talkative, she goes, oh hey, how are you? What's your name? I'm Tanya. Nice to meet you. And then she got it going for me because I
Wow.
probably would not have said anything. Same thing with what's his name? That guy from Canada. He's on TikTok. He's a fancy dancer.
Oh,
Cree. North.
I know who
no,
you're talking
Great.
about.
That was in
Yeah.
Hollywood, like in what, November?
Mm-hmm. Him too. I asked one of my friends, Jessica Calderon. I'm like, hey, he looks familiar. Who is he? And then she knew she knew of him. I didn't
Yeah.
know at the time that she didn't really know him like that, but she calls him over. Hey, come over here. And then we're just standing there, and I'm like, okay, she knows him. That's her friend or something. And then she goes, hey, they want to take a picture with you. And I'm like, wait. I just wanted to meet him or know who he is. Nah. But you want a picture with him? I'm like, well, yeah, I guess. She goes, well, there you go. Hey, they want to take a picture with you. So we did it real quick. I'm like, oh, hi. I'm like, we took a picture with him. And then after that, she goes like, oh, yeah, I don't know him. I'm like, what? You don't know him and you just did that? She said, well, you wanted to meet him. I'm like, oh, my God. Okay, well, thank you. But it's just like, even if I were to see anybody that I've seen on TikTok, on Instagram, on TV or anything, I just freaked up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, it's nice to meet these people. I mean, I can't go as far as asking like serious questions because I just get as far as like hi with them. But with traveling, it's nice that I can see these certain people in person. And yeah, just
I mean, I
being
think
in
it's kind of
different-
cool. Like where you see people that are coming up and doing good things in the
Mhm.
community, and you go to an event, you do see them there. It is really, really cool. And even myself, like when I saw Stan Jotty at
Oh,
Mhm.
the Indigenous Red Market, I love that guy's music. I really
Oh,
like his music.
nice.
And even I was kind of a little,
Starstruck.
just a little bit, but there was nobody at his booth. He's just sitting there by himself
Just
with his
chilling.
daughter. And then I walked up to him. He recognized me from
Oh,
TikTok.
no way.
Yeah, he's like,
How
"Hey, what's up?"
cool.
He's like, and it made it easier to have the conversation because I was like
Oh,
super nervous
yeah.
to walk up to him and talk to the guy. But
Mhm.
I mean, most of the time when you meet these, they're down to earth. They're just
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just like
Just
us.
people.
They're
Yeah,
just
that's-
people.
That's why I tell her they're just people.
No, but you know what? It's because a long time ago I had like this
Uh-oh.
this actor not acknowledge me, and I was probably like 12 years old. I was trying to say, hey, and I think that's
Oh.
just in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's nice when you meet people now and that are genuine. It just makes it so much better.
Yeah.
And
I don't think I've ever met. I don't know, Johnny. Maybe you have a story. If
Johnny doesn't go up to nobody.
No,
You don't?
I rather go up to like state assembly people, governors. That's like my
That's
forte.
true.
The
Yeah.
director of IHS. I rather
the
go see those
bigwigs,
people.
yeah,
that's,
the big wigs.
that's my forte. Where I rather go. So like, oh, that's the one that actually could do something for us, and let's see.
Yeah.
Lawmaking and all that stuff. So
Well,
that's what I mean.
you probably feel pretty comfortable. You've
Uh-huh.
been around those people. I mean,
Yeah.
being
Mhm.
in politics and being a tribal chairman, you've had to really
That's our forte.
exactly.
Just
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can get into that. So, what's it like being around these state politicians, these federal politicians?
It's good and bad. So it depends on the situation, of course. Like here, we going through our casino compact. Compact is the agreement between the tribe and state for the casinos. Every casino has it. You could Google any tribe and put compact agreement, and there it pops up. So we talked to our own governor here in California, a lot of his advisors too, with the negotiations along. So being in the same room as a lot of tribal leaders, that's the thing. Everybody who shows up has a say, has a vote within their own community.
That's right.
It's very, very strong once you get in there. But my stuff is very different from the other tribe stuff. That's the key thing. But somehow we got to work together. That meaning somehow I need to find a balance because some other small tribe who is unrecognized doesn't have a seat at the table. They only want to talk to the recognized people. So keep
Yeah.
in mind the
Mhm.
tribes that are the non-recognized have to,
Still fight and get-
still be in there with us. So we represent quite a few non-recognized tribes with us because they're in the Constitution. So we go in there, fighting for them too, but also versus another casino tribe that has millions, billions of dollars, and they're asking for something else that we don't have or don't even know what they're talking
Mhm.
about. For example, water. So it's like they're talking about a whole different tax system, getting more money off of more stuff they have, and I'm just there like,
Trying to get
it's
water.
irrelevant to me.
Yeah.
And they're fighting for their own thing, but
Mm.
I got to speak up. The person next to me has to speak up to fight for their own
Mm.
tribe. You have one person there fighting for their whole tribe, and a whole table is doing the same thing. But it's also like, how do I get the attention? But when they give you the attention, you better be ready for that.
Mhm.
Most people aren't. Most tribes don't have to send that person there.
That's a great
Their
point.
proxy. They send their proxy there that is said to say something, but has no clue what they're saying or how to get it done. Back to my first statement, has to get it done.
How they understand
Mhm.
things or need to be
Interprets.
spoken to.
Interprets, yeah. And
Mm.
how do I bring that back to my tribe, back to the table, to communicate that back as a presentation, or otherwise it's just a waste of time.
Mhm.
I could probably see that happening a lot where somebody
does.
does have a
Oh
moment
yeah.
and they're not ready for it.
Exactly.
Mm.
They're not ready for it. Yeah.
That's why I wanted that college degree. That was the main thing in my head. Like, I have to know what they're saying. I have to understand what this tax line means. I have to understand this
Absolutely.
stuff to run a business because they're running a business off of me and my tribe. That's why.
100%. 100%. So I just want to remind everybody we are live here. If you have any questions, you feel free to put them in our comment section or chat section. We'll get to them a little later. So we talked about obviously the positives of owning your own business, having the flexibility, basically, being able to travel and meet people. So what are some of maybe the pitfalls or downsides or just, some of the things that maybe aren't so fun?
On my side is coming out with that new thing, something that people are gonna love, and money wise, financially, like it it costs money to buy
It
materials.
does.
And so it sometimes it can be very hard with like budgeting money. You may run out, you don't have enough for this or you don't have enough for that. And I sometimes want to move on to like the next thing I want to do, but I can't
Yep.
because we don't have enough. So I have to draw back. But also this is like a good move, like when you don't have enough to do the next thing, because it stops me and just think differently on what I have, what I can make out of this. So then it will bring in more income. And so I always go through that. That's like an up and down for me. We'll have some good times, we'll have some rough times, and then but it pushes me to think outside of the box, like what am I supposed to do? Or then I will relay back to him. I'm like, hey, what can I do? Like, I'm struggling right now. And then he'll tell me like, okay, we got to, with his social media, with his marketing business, he knows, and he's just like, okay, you got to make a video, you got to wear this, you got to wear that, you got to maybe do this and do the other thing. And so I will try to do that, but then another fallback on that is that I'm the face of this, and so I have to put myself out there, and sometimes that can be uncomfortable, or I don't feel as confident,
Yeah.
and so I hold myself back too. And sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I don't care no more what it looks like, how I look like, just post it, and then I'll be done with it. And sometimes it's like, okay, I could have done that already. It's that easy. Just do it again next time, Yendi. But I just hold myself back. So it can be like putting myself out there on social media, what I'm gonna say, how I'm gonna say it, financially.
Well,
With
let's just talk about the ups and you mentioned the peaks and the valleys. I think that's something that
Yeah,
it's rough, right? Sometimes things are going good,
Mhm.
and then you are going to have times when things aren't going well.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was good though. Like being the face of it, that's a struggle itself for anybody, especially for anybody who wants to start a business that has a bad background. And
Mhm.
me being my marketing person, who I go out there and hear these things, and people, they're not just Indian businesses either, and tribal business. They're actually legit,
Yeah.
city businesses, and they got bad records and all that, and they're trying to get involved and do certain things, but they struggle with that. But for us, like turning off the switch with business minded, married life, kids life, being a parent life, changing those into clocking in, clocking out
Mm.
mentally, not physically,
Yeah.
mentally. With I got to spend more time with the kids, not worry about the project in my back of my head.
Mhm.
Right.
I want to enjoy the moment. We'll travel somewhere and enjoy the moment, but we're also like looking around.
Yeah, that's a big struggle. Now that he brought that up, like me being at home, it's really hard to, okay, let me spend time with my son right now. But no, I also have to finish this order. I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, play real quick, and then I'll do something while you're playing. But then I get so focused into what I'm working on that I just tend to like push it longer and longer and longer. And then, oh, now it's time to pick up my daughter. And then I didn't get to spend enough time with him. So that's just like a daily struggle all the time. And yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I applaud every married couple who has a business, because
So do I, man.
it's a real thing,
Well, that's you too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, for me, like I was telling you guys earlier, I mean, I'm pretty much all on my own. So when my business,
Mhm.
it all falls on me. So if I'm at the end of the day, if I make a mistake, I have myself to blame. I have
I
to do
know.
self-reflecting, and I do definitely enjoy that part of being a business owner. But I know for both of you, you guys are working together, that you also
Yeah.
have something that you're doing on your own as well. And then you have your side with like the creation of
I'm like
the
the
material,
fashion
the
designer of
fashion
it. Yeah.
designer. Yeah, I mean, it's really an interesting mix that you have both going on, and it seems like you have, obviously zeroed in on a formula here, right?
Mhm.
So what is the formula? We want to know for
Keep
people
moving, keep
for
Yeah.
people who have a
moving.
Just
couple for couples who are doing their own business. What is the formula?
there's no like set plan for it. We just take it day by day, but we always keep going no matter what. Like even if you're failing or you don't think you're doing it right that day, maybe things are not going the way you want it to go, you just have to just hang in there. Like never have that mindset of giving up. You're just having a rough day and then we'll figure it out again the next day. Or you have to just start looking at resources or ask questions, ask for help, like with friends, or like just like you said, like you have friends that you ask questions
Right.
to on whatever you're working on, or you don't understand, and then at the end you will decide on what you want to do. So it's kind of like you can just ask people for information, but at the end, like, just don't give up, just keep it going. But I think
Such
that's
good
just
advice.
with like any business. Like most people out there that have like these big businesses, like they don't give up. They'll have rough days. They're not Things are not going the way that they want it to go, but they just keep going. They keep pushing.
Yeah, that's such a, I think, great advice for anybody who is not maybe not doing well at being successful early on. I mean, there's been some things I've done and recently where I'm like, man, it's not working. It's not. I'm not seeing the results, and then all of a sudden, you just start to see a shift. You're like, okay, this is starting to happen now. Okay, this is going really really well. And I just I just feel like you said, just keep pushing and keep doing what you do, believing in yourself, believing in whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Like for me, I have my own Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. That's kind of my focus. I'm starting to get more into social media and, doing some stuff related to, the work that I do with education, but doing it more online just for me. And I'm starting to see a lot of positive results there. But early on, when I first started doing my jujitsu business and even the social media stuff, like I failed I failed so many times.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I just kept on telling myself, just keep going and just keep pushing and keep growing, reflecting and learning.
Isn't that what jujitsu is?
And that's basically, and it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny because I used that jujitsu mindset kind of to help me out, just like in other parts of my life, especially business, pushing through difficult things. Like, when you're training jujitsu, it's not always fun. Like sometimes it sucks. Like you're having a bad moment where you're getting smashed
Your body.
your body feels like it's falling apart. And then, you basically, you stay calm and you continue to work your technique and you get better. But yeah, I mean, obviously, both of you have done some amazing things, excuse me, over the years. So how do you,
I'll touch back on that real
yeah,
quick.
I want you, go ahead.
Yendi said a nice version. I'm more of a cutthroat try.
Yeah. If you want to know that.
All right, we want to hear.
The answer
Yeah.
to the formula is get it done, basically.
Oh,
get
I
it
like
done.
it.
That's it.
I like it.
And you could talk all you want in your head, but nothing's moving forward.
Man,
Okay?
I love it.
Keep that in mind. That's how I look at it. You could just you talking to yourself over and over and over, but nobody's doing the work from the very beginning. Like I said, no one's doing the work. I have to do the work. You could be an employee for someone and clock out and leave when the building's on fire, but it's your company. You're responsible for it. It's your responsibility, and you got to do it. With jujitsu, I'm a numbers guy. I look at the math all the time with the projections. That's my, I thrive on that statements. I love it. I love reading it. Understand that whole different world, but it's actually mine that I'm reading, and getting X amount of members, getting X amount of members to get X amount of profit.
That's right.
For the month, and then how do we grow those members to capitalize on their family members to try to get them? It's an easy sell to get the family members in, then to get a new person on the street to switch gyms. So how do I develop that? How do I core that? But my family's there to help me. Don't be afraid to ask for people for help. There's a lot of people out there that you could just ask them, because they have a lot of businesses too where they struggle too at the beginning. You're just a little tiny little fire, and they're a wildland fire already busted, making a bunch of money. So they're willing to help out. They're willing to throw a match to you to help out. Just to see what we could do to get this business going, because a lot of successful people want to see other successful people run.
Absolutely.
Because that brings up my business also, real estate talk.
I love
your
it.
neighbor next door, mowing the lawn, just helping you next door mowing the lawn too. That's just an example of what you learn out there in the world. There's people out there willing to help because they know that struggle.
Man, beautifully said. I like the idea of just getting it done too, because sometimes we just get in our own head and we have all these thoughts, we have all these ideas.
For 30 minutes on your phone going crazy, and you're not putting work in.
Exactly. I mean, sometimes when I'm putting together like a video, because I've been doing a lot of history, indigenous history, and sometimes I'm sitting here just thinking about the idea. I'm like, no, dude, just get the camera on and go.
Think out loud.
What you're talking about. You've been doing this for years. If the camera never turns on, you're never going to get anything done. And so, with jujitsu, I think just training all these years, I feel like, pushing through, getting things accomplished through just putting in the hard work. That's something I definitely have learned from training
Sometimes it's not even
jiu-jitsu.
that hard. You're just doing it. It's the hard part.
It's true. That's very, very true.
But also, you got to keep in mind your vision and mission statement. You always have to
Yeah.
reflect on that core, because you're
That's
having
true.
all this stuff in your mind. You're developing and different strategies in your head. But go back to your core.
Mm-hmm.
Why am I really doing this? Why am I waking up? Why am I even have this in my head? I could be doing something else better, or
Right.
something more fun is another word for it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That little voice in your head talks to you, but you keep going back to that vision and statement. We want to, build fashion together. Just that's what we have for community, tribal community, non-tribal community, to build that bridge for everybody to connect back together.
Mm-hmm.
100%. So it looks like we have some questions. Let's see if
All right, let's get
we'll
it.
see what we got here.
I forgot we were on live for a
I
second.
know. Let's see. So it says, do you make clothing specific to a region or nations?
Right now, it's mainly Native Americans from North America. I'm slowly going to be going into Central. So I'll be using some fabric from Mexico and Guatemala. I'm waiting for my aunt to bring me some right now because she just went to Guatemala. I'm like, hey, auntie, can you bring me some, please? She said, of course. Just tell me how many yards. I'm like, okay. So right now, those are the two that I'm focusing on. But if I were to go into different regions, I would like to work with somebody. And let's say it's I don't know. Just name any other one. Like
She has trouble with geography. That's no, she's not thinking.
yeah,
She has trouble with
okay,
east, west, north, and south.
let's say from Hawaii.
Okay.
Okay, I would want to work with somebody there because they understand their their designs, but again, because we want to go into it respectfully, we don't want to use any designs or patterns
Absolutely.
that are
Tourism
sacred
stuff.
sacred to
Yeah.
some families, right? So I would like to work with somebody, and then maybe they can give me some fabric. I can make something. We can work together. That is an ultimate goal that I want to do.
I love that. That sounds great.
But for now, it's just like I'm still trying to work on my side of the family
Yeah.
next, because I've been so focused. Like one of my friends told me that she is Chelsea. She does beadwork. She told me I'm highly influenced with my husband's side of the family, and that's why you'll see a lot of that in my fashion right now. But I'm slowly going more into my with my fabrics, right? And so like I said, I would like to go into that.
Well, the Guatemalan designs are beautiful.
They are, and it's all handmade. So
Man.
I've been taking a little while to get that fabric because I wanted to find somebody that was, somebody that's hand making it, going directly to the source. But it's kind of hard to do that while we're here. And then COVID happened, so I really couldn't travel. Then I had my son, so there's been things that has also been holding me back from doing that. So for now, it's just like, okay, my aunt went over there, so I'm like, okay, can you just get it somewhere? And then for now, we'll work on it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see if we got anything else here. Let's see. Oh, this one's for you, Johnny. All right.
Okay.
Let's see. Okay, how come there are many rich Indian tribes and there's also poor ones? What causes these inequalities? Why don't the rich tribes help the poor ones?
They do. It's a yes and a no. It just depends on the economy, on who done what first. All right. So you have your different lawmakings. Let's say 40 years ago. During that time, there's tribal communities trying to do things done, meaning tribal government. During that time, people have different resources, meaning tribes have different resources. One has electricity, one's near the water, one's near different, let's say a different tribe lives in San Diego, another tribe lives in Central California. Those are two different markets.
Yeah.
Two different markets. The other one in San Diego has more money there, more economy-wise, more people willing to spend, versus the one in Central California. There's a lot of ag here, so there's not that much crazy money compared to down south. And where's everybody at? They're in the good weather spot in San Diego. So that tribe is saying, just not throwing tribes, I'm just saying the region wise, that they can make more money down there because there's more people down there who are willing to spend more at your location versus the location where we're at now, Central California. So they could build more. not just casinos. They could build resorts. They could do a lot more for the tribe. They could educate them in a college degree wise, full ride scholarships. So they're actually building their future. That's what's happening. They're actually building their tribe stronger and doing that while the other tribe doesn't have that much money. So it takes time for them to grow. But there's got to be people within that tribe willing to take that risk, starting a business, doing their own thing, not just mooching off or waiting for the tribe, aka daddy, to help. They have to do something.
They have to go
They
out
have
there,
to go
right?
out there and do their
Drive
thing
up
too.
to
There's
Sacramento
and you got to see. That's why I chose Oklahoma State University College, because I wanted to know how the Cherokees were doing their business. I wanted to see how other tribes are doing the business, because you got to. I always say you got to get out of your fishbowl and look at the fish tank.
Such a good point.
Look at the sea. There's a whole different market out there. You have to know and understand, not just within your tribe, but also the way it was developed during your time and your grandpa's time, meaning mine, grandpa's time versus now. It's a whole different language. It's a whole different technology back then, but we have it. We have all your data in your smartphone right now, but do you even use it? Do you even look up? Do you even do the research on that?
Yep.
And you have to do something for you and for your tribe. 10 years later, my kids are going to be growing up, let's say in 10, 12 now, that they're going to be at that age 10 years later. It's going to be a whole different world during that time that we become irrelevant to what we're talking about now, but still living the same struggle as someone was 10 years ago.
Yep.
Talking about the same thing. And there's tribes that do help each other. They'll lend a hand out there, but where does that hand go to? Who does it go to?
Mm-hmm.
Do they communicate it back to other people? That's what I said. There has to be a communication to the right people that are willing to share the wealth, meaning knowledge, to the tribe.
And then those tribes to keep it going, right? Like,
Correct.
Okay, we got the foot in the door.
The foot in the door, seat at the table. Seat at the table is the main thing.
Yeah, and there are some tribes that are doing better at this than others. I mean, there's a learning curve, and I think that there's some communities that, for whatever reason, they put the right people in positions that obviously need to be filled by the right people. And then there's probably some communities that are still struggling with that, finding the right people to do the work.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, getting an education like you have, I'm sure really just kind of sets you apart from the maybe the person who makes it into a position of power who doesn't have that background, and they're just kind of learning on the job. That's got to be super difficult.
Yes, on the job training is very, very difficult.
And all of us have that. I mean, you're not going to learn everything in school. I mean, I went to school for years, and there's just so much about life that I learned, outside of the university walls. But I will say this: being exposed to people from a lot of different backgrounds, and just kind of learning, understanding how this Western society works at that level, I think it really does help you out in a lot of different ways, especially when you're dealing with, Western institutions. You're dealing with the federal government. I mean, you've had to deal with state officials, federal officials.
We're going to deal with them pretty soon. I'm on the Bakersfield American Indian Health Project, a board member there for IHS. They wanted me there. So
yeah.
Actually got involved, and we're going to Washington next month to do some advocating and get stuff done for our own Kern County area down there where I'm representing right now, to help them out get their own tribal service center. They're looking to get a whole full IHS center there, not just more referrals. So we're taking that next step. So me learning all this Indian health services now versus governmental business versus actual profit business and nonprofit business. Now I'm going into Indian health service business, healthcare wise. So those are a whole different real big leagues, that private big leagues who you don't even know about because they don't want you to know about because they're collecting. So now that's a whole different area. And I'm interested.
You have to do a lot of reading for that too, huh?
You have to read. You gotta know how to read first, know what you're interpreting.
Yeah.
He will surprise me because he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I know that person, or this is what they're doing." I'm like, "How'd you know?" He goes, "I read. Open a book." I'm like, "Oh yeah, huh?" I was like, "Okay, yeah." So he goes in prepared for anything that he's going to do. Like he will read up on you.
Are you an avid reader? Or are you somebody?
No.
It's just when he has to.
It's just when I have to, and I know you have to train if you're going to fight. You have to before you go to battle. You have to train, and you have to know what you're talking about, not just going in emotionally, but you have to stay on that road of Who am I doing it for? What am I fighting for? Are we still fighting? Are we at peace? That's the thing. How do we keep the peace too when you're done with the agreement? You have to know what you're doing before you go and do something. That's what happens.
That's a ton of wisdom there.
Or if you do it, you have to start reading.
You gotta
Get ready for it.
You gotta do what you gotta do.
Absolutely. So let's see here. So we have you established a presence on social media to promote your business? Absolutely, you have. That's a great.
Yeah.
That's a great
Good
question. You can tell them all about where to find you and.
Okay, let me start off. Yes, my husband is a big pusher on that. He said, you got to take a picture. Did you get a video? I'm like, oh, no, I forgot. Come on, man. You got to put it out there. And I'm like, oh, again, because I'm so focused on creating and doing that I sometimes forget to pause real quick, set
Just
up the
having
camera,
a great time.
take a picture. Yep. I'm in motion. I'm in a work mode. So he's been a big pusher on that. And so go ahead, take it on now.
OITClothing are indigenous traditions. The key words to our business are meaning us, indigenous meaning all we together, and traditions meaning what we do. Those things have to stay alive within our life to be passed on to the next generation, seventh generation. They have to be connected, but also teach and educate. That's why we do all the social media stuff. That's why we want to put up a camera to set it up so anybody and everybody could watch it from years on and refer back to it. Sometimes people here just need a certain reminder. Reminder. She just needs a reminder where they came from and what they're doing, or just a simple understanding. People don't want to read. We're listening to podcasts now in today's world where we're
So
active
true.
listeners. Active listeners where you can't even sit down with a book now. It's to be read to you.
So you guys can be found on Instagram, on TikTok, Facebook, right? All the different social media platforms.
Podcast too, the Talking Stick itself. So
tell them about the podcast. Let's. I know this is going to be on your podcast. This is going to be a dual, by the way, for those of you on YouTube right now, this is going to be a dual podcast. We're going to release this on the 7th Generation podcast. It's obviously going to be up on YouTube, and I'll have the file sent to you all. That way you guys can put it up on your platform as well.
Yeah, so we have the Talking Podcast. Talking Stick is basically what it is.
We love it. I love that
do the
name.
Same thing we're doing now. Pass the talking stick and give the person a chance to speak their mind. That's what it's based off. Speak their mind. Whatever you say goes, and whatever you say is up to you. Get it out. Get it emotionally out. Giving people a platform is the main thing, but also getting the education out. Sharing the knowledge. That was the thing that we talk a lot about, was sharing the knowledge, not hoarding it. Actually sharing what on a daily life, or what we're doing here today. That's why we started it. We didn't want to just do fashion itself only. We wanted to actually spread education throughout with the reliable resources that we meet along the way. Everybody's got a story.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things was that somebody might be wanting to learn about their culture, just where I was in that position where I've been trying to learn that.
That's how we bounce off each other.
Yeah, see, like I'm trying to learn, so then I will open up his mindset, like, hey, there could be somebody else that's trying to learn. So then that's when he said, okay, well, we can have people to share their stories, share some traditions that somebody else can benefit from it, or that
especially
are trying
out
to
of
learn.
State that we don't know either, and we're like, wow, like we actually learn something from.
We've had some people on there that I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. Well, what about this, or what about that? So as I'm learning, we're learning, others are learning as well. And it could be their own people that they're learning from. Like some people aren't
shy to
involved
ask too.
Oh yeah, that they're shy to ask. But some people could be from a tribe but weren't raised into that, and they're trying to learn about their culture. Like they can find out from here as well.
Yeah, you have both an interesting mix, because we, on one hand, very traditional, raised up to really understand where you come from, raised up on your homeland, involved heavily in the community from day one, right? And then you kind of reconnecting
the city girl,
the city girl reconnecting. And I think those stories, both stories, are incredibly important to tell. On one hand, growing up in the traditions, on one hand, trying to reconnect with your indigenous culture, your indigenous cultures, and of course there's people there's a spectrum there, right? There's people in the middle, and I think that what you guys are doing is really beautiful, because I think you have something for everybody, right? There's a little something for everyone. You come from, like, man, you understand tribal politics, you understand Indian gaming, obviously
People
understand
more into
city
like
life and what it's like to try
fashion.
fashion, what it's like to be somebody who's trying to reconnect as well. And there's
Yeah, a
all
lot of
kinds
us
of
people, Indian people too, we live in those two worlds, our
Yeah.
tribal world
Bringing two
and then
worlds
the
together.
world we see every day out there. So bringing those two worlds together, and they actually are worlds because it's whole different rules that we
Mhm.
have to follow.
That's right.
That was something that I had to learn too. It's like I could be in the city or with my friends, and like sometimes they don't want to talk about culture. They want to be more into like social media about like
Yeah.
celebrities and stuff. So I had to learn to turn it off and turn it on. Like there's certain people that I could talk to about certain things. Like I'll have my best friend Jasmine, she will learn about his culture and she'll tell me like, oh yeah, I read about this or I read about that, and so we can talk about that.
Yeah.
We can, and it's nice that she applied herself to learn as well. But yeah, I've had to learn that there's these two worlds that are out there. Not every, so you have to learn how to switch it on and off.
That's such a good point. And then you have people who, maybe not aren't as interested in one aspect of
Mhm.
indigenous life. Maybe they're more interested in like strictly traditional stuff. And there might be people who are a
Mhm.
little bit more interested in say business. I mean, what I always tell people is when it comes to native people, we're also different and we don't all think the same. We all don't share the
Mhm.
same views. Some people have had, completely different experiences than one
Oh
another,
yeah.
and I think it's important to be able to talk about all of it. And I love it when I could sit back and learn from somebody like Johnny who knows a lot about politics, because that's an area that I find really
You're
interesting.
interested because you want to know what goes on at
I
the
want to
table.
know what's going
Yeah.
on, and right. I mean, and you're somebody, you've been in the room.
Yes.
You've
Mhm.
been in the room. You've been at the table.
Mhm.
You've had to negotiate. You know the game
Yeah.
very, very well. I mean, at 31 years old
I
to
know
have
who's
all that
BSing, who's
knowledge.
not, who's filibustering, and all that stuff.
Exactly,
So, what are we
exactly.
doing? Who's getting stuff done?
And then there's people who don't have no interest in politics at all.
Mhm.
They're not.
Mhm.
That's not their thing. Their thing is maybe something to do with culture, language revitalization, or what
Mhm.
have you.
Mhm.
But I think that all of these topics, and John, you could speak to this. Would you agree that they're all kind of interrelated in some way?
Yeah, they're all related with the four corners. So you have to understand, it'd be an all around person to understand that because everybody's got their own story. Everybody's got their own different view on points. Some people grow up in a domestic family, violence wise. Some people don't, and they have to understand the way people grew up and these tells people have on them. There's a
Yeah.
whole different way you could approach somebody who's a 50-51, different stuff. So there's a whole different avenue of who are you speaking to and where they come from. You got to be gentle with everybody, but also, understand who they are and what they are and, how they're living versus 10 years ago to now. They might be a whole different person, sober up or whatever, trying to lead the
Mhm.
way, but they still live with that, in
Guilt.
their guilt in their head, their bad or good integrity that they have as a person,
Such a good
what
point.
they have. So some people grow up, some people don't. Some people say, I'm out.
Mhm. Because even
This
if
is
they
true.
do change up their life, then they're gonna
It's
have,
all attached to them.
yeah, and
Yeah.
or people bringing it up, and so it's always like a constant battle.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think too, like the intergenerational trauma, the historical trauma.
Trauma is big.
I mean, you seem very well put together, Johnny. I mean,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of us that aren't.
He settled me
So
down.
people tell me
I
sometimes,
tamed
like,
her.
man, you seem like you're. Are you tamed now?
Mhm.
You gotta tame this one.
I can't. No, I do.
But yeah, I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm just barely holding it together,
Mhm.
And so, I mean, so can you tell us a little bit about just like your upbringing and what it was like growing up in your community and just some of your experiences? Maybe you can just kind of touch upon that.
Yeah, so growing up in the community of Tule River, I had both of my parents. They're still here today, which is big plus. There's people lose a lot of parents along the way, either separate or death. So both of my parents here are babysitting the kids right now. Shout out to them. Watching the grandkids.
Thank you, Grandma.
So
Thank you, Grandpa.
yeah, grew up as with my two sisters, and bounced off of them. My oldest sister, she had her kids too. She's like in her 20s at the time, and she had her kids along the way. So I kind of grew up with them as my nephews and nieces, as like
Nice.
my younger brothers and sisters, and I was the youngest in the family too. So they basically took care of me, and I was groomed to be this tribal person who I wanted to be. In the back of my head all the time, I wanted to be a business person. I loved it growing up. Loved how the math was. I was never a crazy school person along the way, but I always knew like just get through it, just get through it, just get through it. Don't let them change who you are. Just keep going and learn the ways, learn how they are, to actually learn their system and to understand it. That was always the key point of growing up.
Yeah.
But my goal was actually being tribal leader, and I accomplished at the young age of 25, our eligible age still now in our constitution. So I wanted to keep my integrity, keep my brand as a person. I knew that I couldn't do things that I wanted to be this tribal leader, because it would always be that guilt attached to me. It'd always be that way. So I grew up without drugs and alcohol as a choice.
Man, good for
I'm
you.
still sober, haven't got it. So
Good
it's
for you.
just growing up that way, understanding that I see a lot of my family members who are on that, and I see the way they live, and I'm like, dude, just what are you doing, basically? And I didn't, and I told family members that too. Like, I don't want to be nothing like that. I want to do something, for the people, and actually have that key moment in your life that you could appreciate something that you did.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
appreciation is a long way than guilt, and blaming people. That's another thing. I don't blame anybody. It's just the way it goes, the way it goes. And there are a lot of things that happen to a lot of people. That's why in my life, I'm just grateful that a lot of things have gone my way. And I had a lot of family members who
Supported
watched
you.
over me, supported me, been the shield there for me, because they did a lot of work
Wow.
for me too. Been that shield to take,
Mhm.
the physical hit, the mental hit, the spiritual hit that people play on you for the Indian world on what
Yeah.
they do. So they actually been that shield to not only protect me, but protect all of us as a whole. You got to get through the whole family before you get to someone else. That's always the key thing. So having that family, I was grateful and gifted to have everybody in those positions to actually protect one another, just in our own core family itself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that's really, I mean, your story is really incredible and amazing, but obviously you had something inside of you too. And you had, a lot of support, but there's something inside of you that said you want to do something good.
Correct. Yeah.
You had
The
that,
why not
growing up.
me?
Yeah.
Why
Why
not
not
me? Growing
you?
up. Yeah.
Yeah. And we need more of that. And I know that it's important to have, people around you, a strong support system. But at the end of the day, like you, I mean, you had it inside of you. You wanted to do
Yeah,
something.
and it doesn't have to be physical people too. There's a lot of people who still talk to me spiritually. A lot of people in your dreams who I see, who I need to speak to.
Yeah.
They're there for me. You call out for them,
Mhm.
and you have the understanding in your brain of how to reach people. Questions, it's not just them telling you something. It's your core memory of them telling you something that you weren't listening to at the time, and now they're reminding you. They're reminding you of why they were there and what needs to be done. I've seen a lot of family members who are dead in there, in my dreams talking to me. So
Aw.
Wow.
it's just
Aw.
it's heartening, but it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
That keeps you
I hear
going.
you. Yeah, I hear you.
Keeps you going.
Then you
Yeah.
have the suckers who want to play with you, and you got to get back at them.
Oh, there's all kinds of tricksters out there, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
sir.
All right. Well, we got another question here. Let's see what are there. Oh, this is a good one here. Are there business loans available specifically for Indigenous peoples? Have you been able to tap into
Yeah,
anything? Yeah. What have
You
you?
know what? I recently started looking into that. Like, I didn't know that there's some people that have these organizations. I'll have to find it. There's a Native women loan program, and you
Nice.
have to apply for it. And
Native, Indigenous. There's nonprofit programs. Just type it up on grants.org. There's just type of Native American. There's a lot of nonprofit organizations that go after these grants, and
but you just have to find them. That's something that I learned. I'm like, oh man, there's really out there. You just have to like search it up. But yeah, there's a few out there that you can apply for.
grants
Yeah.
and loans depend on what you're making, but you have
Yeah,
to have
that's
all
true.
your statements in order. So yeah, there is certain ones.
You have to have like your business has to be registered, I think. But
Do you have an LLC or do you have? Are you guys
My
nonprofit?
this one's a sole proprietor, the
Mine's a sole
clothing line, and
proprietor.
my marketing is the LLC.
LLC.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Maybe you can tell the difference. Can it tell our list our people?
No, well, pretty much.
I mean, I'm a
See,
sole,
that's
I'm
what
a
his
sole,
strong suit.
I'm a sole proprietor, but
Uh-huh.
I'm going to be going hopefully to an LLC
Yeah.
here.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
from what I
soon.
know, sole proprietor, everything falls on me.
Mhm.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And then
Limited liability
Yeah, limited liability
corporation.
corporation LLC. That's more of your tax exempt stuff. So you could blame the LLC. It's more of a shield for you. So let's say your house here, you're running through your LLC. Everything is in your LLC. Where someone sues you, they don't sue. What do I got in my name? I got nothing in my name. Everything's registered in my LLC, so they can't
Yeah.
take anything. that's the
Mhm.
shield.
More protection.
Yeah,
And it's better for if as your business really explodes,
Yeah.
you gotta
Mhm.
start to
And
protect
if you want a
yourself.
board or
Yeah.
not on your LLC, depending on what you want to do, who's making decisions, or if you want to sell part of your business, the board's got to be involved. So it goes more into tune than a partnership. But
Yeah.
LLCs have
Mhm.
more of a leeway, and your taxes is always whatever your California or whatever your state taxes as an LLC to do. Ours is like crazy up and down, but LLC is straightforward
Mm.
tax.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, can you, for somebody who's trying to start a business, like maybe some advice, both of you, in terms of, where to start? What's maybe some of the best advice you can give somebody trying to start their own business?
Um, we were just talking about this, or he mentioned it earlier. It's like you have to know your mission. Why are you
Yeah.
doing this? Um, why? And then whenever you fall back or you're struggling in the business, that would just keep you going right there.
Yeah, there's a lot of YouTube videos too of people who talk about their business. So for me, I look at from a marketing standpoint before you get into it, you have to know who's doing
Mhm.
what, who your competitors are. Is this
Mhm.
business actually going to be moving forward 10 years later again,
Good
2
point.
years later?
Good
Mhm.
point.
Is COVID going to happen, going to kill the gym and all that again?
Oh,
So you
man.
have to keep everything in mind before even signing a check or
Yeah.
even writing a check
Yeah.
to file for LLC first. You got to pay the money for everything to get it started. Are you
Mhm.
products? Are you products or are you service? Who are you serving and what products are you selling? Because those are whole different avenues. You got to understand what you're doing first and how long you're going to do it. Are you doing it for money? Are you doing it to sell later? Are you doing it for your family's name? What are you doing? What's the purpose, back to your mission and vision statement, for yourself?
Mhm.
Not your business yet, for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself doing this forever, or do you see yourself retiring at the age of whatever? That's my goal. To do that. I just want to do, me personally, I want to do my own thing, just basically live. That's my thing, just to basically live on your own freedom.
Yeah.
But back to business, what are you willing to do? What are you willing to risk? And what are you willing to give up? Meaning family time at the very,
Mhm.
very beginning. You give up a
Yeah.
lot of family
Yeah.
time,
It's all
and people
good
are going, "Where's
points.
Johnny at? Oh, he's in his business doing his own thing." And it's a lot of work because everything relies on you to get the document signed, to get the bank signed, to get this money signed, to
Pay for
redevelop,
things
to
and
pay for stuff, to get everything going. It's a lot of work from the beginning, but as you develop these systems into place, policy and procedure for yourself, that someone who sues you, oh, I got a policy that's right here. Look at, boom, stamp the sign.
Mm.
You have to protect yourself from the beginning. Liability goes a long way, meaning you have to have your insurance, you got to have all this stuff with you,
Yep.
and you have to have all this stuff before you even sell one product.
Oh, I know that.
Otherwise they could get you. That's what the LLC's there to protect you.
Yeah. And as
But-
you start to build something, I mean, obviously you don't want that ever taken away from you, right?
It's
I mean,
up to a certain somebody. Yeah, depending on your development and how much you want to get cashed out if you're looking for that route. But yeah, it's stamped with your name on it. Who else built this? It's got my name on it. That's the main thing. But now someone's running it, or did they rebrand it, or what's what?
yeah.
But don't get it intimidated. It sounds like a lot.
I just make it sound intimidating, but it's fun.
If
right?
I could do it, you could do it. But you just take that one step at a time. You like register it, why you want to do it, your mission statement or your policies. Like you can get it done. It doesn't have to be all right away. You have to pay for everything right away.
And you could fail. It's just money.
That's part of it, right? Failing. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna fail. You're not always gonna do everything right. You're gonna mess some things up. I mean, along the way, you're gonna maybe spend a little bit of money, or
You're gonna take a day off.
hey,
You know,
An
really-
you have
important
to.
day.
Sometimes you just have to step away from it. Don't quit. Just step away, take a moment, rethink it, and then go back into it.
Yeah, I mean, I have a full-time job. I have a business. I have all these other hobbies I
Yeah,
enjoy doing.
family.
I have family. I gotta like, man, I
Family
can't
was
just
the
be.
last one. You hear that?
I can't. I know.
Oh my God.
I can't just be balls to the wall every single day. I mean,
Mm.
you
And then you
know,
get burned out. There's a lot of burnout that goes on in my
That's
head
true.
along the way.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I want to talk about your logo, but we have another question here. It was actually a good one, and I skipped over
Thank
it.
you guys for these questions. They're pretty
Yes.
good.
Yeah, these are
I
fantastic.
did want to touch back on our name of the business, and we can do the logo too.
Okay, cool. Let's see here. This is a good one. As a tribal leader, how do you empower your own sovereignty and that of other nations? And what is your ultimate vision of that for you, Johnny?
Yeah, so it could be personal or it could be tribal, with meaning our constitution and bylaws. So sovereignty meaning, it's our own country basically. So we have to know our laws, we have to know our constitution and bylaws, and they're all written down on the web. Anybody could Google anybody's bylaws or enrollment process if you guys are involved in enrollment. Get a lot of questions on that. So you have to understand the sovereignty, what that means in general. People take it different way as a sovereign citizen versus a sovereign nation.
Mhm.
And they think that they're, tribal, I can do anything I want. No, it's all on the tribe's name, not the individual member's name. So it's the tribe representing, Tule River tribe is representing at the table, not Johnny Nieto, tribal member representing at the table.
That's
You have
right.
you have to know. That's why I said that you're fighting for everybody there who's sitting with you, in those moments, and have to understand development of this question right here, which is a great question. You have to understand all of that and incorporate who's who and who's what to develop that as a whole.
Yeah.
Only certain people understand what I'm talking about, but it's
Yeah,
it's a lot of words to fill in the blanks because every tribe's different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, tribal sovereignty, I think for even for tribal members is kind of, a lot of people don't really understand truly what that means.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of misunderstandings from just everyday regular Americans. I think
Yeah.
don't even get the fact that there's over 550 federally acknowledged tribes
Mhm.
that are literally nations, right?
Mhm.
Nations within a nation. And I don't think really people understand that.
No.
And I think there's all kinds of
But
confusion.
that's just the top layer. Then you deep dive the county into city to
Gosh,
tribe, and
no
is it
kidding.
a reservation? Is it a rancheria?
Rancheria.
Yeah.
Is it an allotment?
I learned about that one.
I mean, you have allotments, you have rancherias, you have reservations, you have Indian colonies, you have Alaskan
Oh.
villages. I mean,
Yeah.
God, it goes on and
Goes
on.
on
It,
and
it
on.
gets
That's
really
true.
confusing.
That's why I said fill in the blanks.
Yeah. And so, so when
Don't
you're
you make it
talking
yours?
about, like, isn't California the only place that has rancherias, right?
It's both reservation and
And
rancherias.
well, you live on a
But it's only in
reservation.
California.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
so
said only
so
in California.
there's two reservations in California, right? There's your reservation, and then I think there's one up north. Is that?
Rock.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of people, outside of California, are like, what's a rancheria?
Yeah, yeah. It's a little slab.
Yeah. It's
Is it really?
basically a
That's how it is?
reservation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
It's basically a
little
reservation.
part.
Wait, so the
Yeah.
reservation is up on a mountain?
No, it's just the area of the area. So
Yeah.
it's the whole large mass area.
So rancheria would just be like a
part
a
of the
small,
city,
like
yeah,
a,
like part
and
of the
then
city.
reservation is just bigger.
Mhm.
Oh, okay.
Most
Mass.
reservations are larger. I mean, rancherias tend to be, and they're only found here in California. They don't call them rancherias anywhere else.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really it does confuse people. I always tell people, look, a rancheria is basically a reservation. It's just smaller, but you
Okay.
live on one of the
It's
reservations here in
depending on
California.
what's documented. That's all it is.
Yeah,
Documented
it's
as
what it's called. Yeah, it's basically just a different
you
name.
Indian, or you Native American, or you American Indian.
Or indigenous.
Indigenous, yeah.
Right.
That's what it's
But
doing.
can a rancheria get bigger?
Yeah, anybody can.
Yeah.
Depending on the
Then
laws.
become
Yeah.
a reservation?
That's not the point we're talking about.
But it'll always be a rancheria no matter what.
What is written as? Are you Native? Are you Indian? Or are you American
Oh,
Indian?
okay. So it was written as, okay.
Yeah.
I get it.
It's the rules how
It's
it's written.
confusing. It is. I mean, for people outside of California, when you say rancheria, it's like, what's that? They don't know. And then I was talking to a friend of mine in Oklahoma, and he's like, we don't even have reservations out here. We just have like territories.
Oh,
And
so it's a territory there?
I was just like,
Yeah.
I was all confused. He was just trying to explain to me, Oklahoma, and yeah, it's like you were saying earlier. It's wherever you go, the politics are different. It can be really involved, be really, really confusing.
Yeah.
I'm always every day. I'm always getting some new information. I'm like, well, I didn't really know that and
This
understand
is
that.
why we have the podcast.
Exactly, exactly. Let's see here. It says right here, tribal sovereignty is a myth. I don't know. What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Johnny?
Everything's a myth, man. It's got to be a
Yeah,
legend somehow.
all right.
That's why people told me, like, oh, that's just a made up word. Aren't all words made up?
That's what when people say democracy and liberty and freedom, I'm like, that's all myth too.
Yeah, that's all words.
It's whatever you make up in your mind. These are just all ideas. That's one thing about, because I'm a sociologist by trade, and when we talk about like values and whatnot, and I always tell people, like, what's an American value, or what's a value that you like? They're like, well, freedom. I'm like, well, what does that really mean? And people are like, oh, I don't know, to be free. But these are all just kind of made up ideas, and I guess sovereignty to a certain degree, yes, it's made up. But things like norms and
there's
laws.
so much definition in sovereignty,
Yes.
with our laws, with our area, with our ICWA cases. That's how we developed that word, and to keep it in there, when we actually do these lawmakings, that people on the outside understand what we're talking about. That's basically what they're playing at. I get what you're saying.
That's right.
But they have to protect these certain words, because if we lose the sovereignty, made up word or whatever it is, that's basically our whole life.
Yeah. And what isn't made up are laws and rules, right? Those are definite, and one thing about tribes, and whether it's a rancheria or it's a reservation, there's certain rules, and those rules are real.
Yeah, that's what I taught her when she went up there, as a non-tribal member, being up there, like, hey, you lose a certain rights and rules up here.
Yep.
Even people going to the casino, our casino on the reservation, they lose certain rules, but where they step into 3. You got public law, federal, and then tribal law. There's no state on there, so there's no state taxes. So it's all federal. Federal, tribal, and public law for us. We got 3 different worlds.
So many people, I just don't think quite, like I said, they don't quite understand federal Indian law. People are just completely clueless. When people ask me about, well, what should I do to try to understand, Native American history or whatever it concerns Native Americans, what I always try to say is, like, man, do some research on the laws.
Federal law first, Indian federal law. That's the main key subject to understand.
Indian federal law.
Yeah, to actually understand the laws that we're actually have to abide by.
Because the relationship was always with the federal government. And that was always like the key thing. It wasn't, and I know with tribal gaming, I know that the state is supposed to work in good faith with tribes.
Good faith is a very, very good bad
what do you think of that good faith?
Bad word.
Is that such a thing? Good faith and government?
There's a reason why good and faith are together.
Okay. I love it. Yeah.
Wait, I have a question. So
yes.
Write it in the chat.
Do they mainly did they go through the federal because the state wasn't maybe doing stuff for them, that they ended up just going to like the head?
So you have these court cases that happened way back in the 1820s. In the 1820s, you have 3 court decisions that are decided by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court basically says that tribes are in fact nations. They call him Chief Justice Marshall. He's the one that writes up these laws and or the rulings, and he basically says they're domestic tribal nations, and basically he sets up the relationship between the federal government and tribes, and kind of strips away the state's ability to deal with tribes. Basically, he's saying is that these are nations, and the relationship is between the federal government and them, not the states. And so, of course, there's something called state federalism, and you have states that wanted to have the say what tribes are doing within their so-called boundaries, which were imaginary at the time. It was just all made up nonsense. But basically, the federal government is saying, no, the relationship is between us and them. They are sovereign domestic nations. That's the term that he uses. And of course, there's a lot of confusion about exactly what he meant by that.
Mhm.
But what wasn't confusing is that he's saying that it's the federal government that's going to be doing business with the tribes,
Oh, okay.
not the states.
Mhm.
And so basically, it stripped away what we call state federalism. But of course, the states, they always want to have a say, right?
Yes,
And
they
that's
do.
you
Oh,
know
yeah.
you know all about that fight with tribal gaming. It's the states that want to have a say what's going on within their
That's
boundaries.
because the money's on the line.
That's what I was gonna say.
Exactly.
One dipping. Mm.
Yeah, they want their piece. They want their cut.
Okay. Well, that
Yeah.
makes
So
sense.
state federalism has always clashed with the federal government, but the federal government has pretty much, I mean, has stated repeatedly in numerous court cases that the relationship is between the federal government and
Mm.
tribal nations. And of course, states have tried to do everything. You have public law 280, and that applies here in California. But I think there's been some amendments to it. So obviously, this stuff can be really involved, very, very confusing. But I always tell people is that you kind of have to look at each state. You have to also look at, is the tribe federally acknowledged? Because you have tribes that don't have federal acknowledgement. They're state acknowledged
And if you're
tribes.
reading stuff too,
Oh.
if you're reading anything, I learned that you have to keep reading because you might
Yeah.
see something, interpret it like, oh, that's
Yes.
why. No, no, no. Keep going. Keep going because it's gonna backfire in there. It always does that. It always does that. So you got to keep reading and keep going to understand the whole. I call it the game. And understand the whole game, how it's played out before
Yeah.
you make your move.
Exactly. And I think that one of the things that, say, tribes on the East Coast have an advantage of is they've been dealing with Europeans for so many centuries now, really going all the way back to the 1600s,
Yeah.
and they really understand their systems of government. And of course,
Oh.
by the time the Americans get out here, it's during the gold rush.
Yes.
And I mean, this is a horrible period for California natives. You
The
see
gold
a
rush, the
horrible
Dust Bowl,
genocide,
moved everybody.
the Dust Bowl. It's just California history as it concerns the tribes is really
Missions,
brutal.
everything.
Just the missions. Yeah. If you go back before that, you have the missions of California. It's just a horrible, brutal systems of control. And of course, tribes back east had been dealing with Europeans for so long. I think that a head start in understanding the politics, understanding
Yes.
this deception,
Yes.
all the
Oh.
BS that comes with colonialism.
Yes.
So, and I totally agree with you. I think you got to keep reading, you got to keep digging, because I learn stuff all the time, and I get confused, and then I'm like, man, I got to learn more about this, and then I start digging a bit more, and I'm just like, this is a little bit more involved and a little different than I initially
And
thought.
it's tough to read because you put so much emotion into it too.
For sure.
You relate to it a lot, and you have to
Mhm.
keep going with tears in your eyes or whatever
Yep.
you're looking
Oh,
at,
wow.
because you're like, damn, they did all this to kids and whoever, and
Yep.
the future wise. Then you're still sitting here as a free person, and be thankful for what people in your ancestors who went through.
Mhm.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
have to be thankful, and that's why I tell people, like, dude, I'm not gonna do anything. I want to make my ancestors proud and the family proud, and they did a lot before they even got here, and that's talking generational
Yes.
for even me to exist here at this moment.
Yeah.
I don't want to let them down or waste my life for them. I want to keep that bloodline going strong because they put up with a whole bunch of stuff to even get me here.
Such a great point. And I always tell people too, I feel like the history of California is particularly brutal. I mean, you have the militias that basically went around murdering and killing California natives during the gold rush for like the next 50 years. You have basically state sanctioned slavery in California. Then you have that with the boarding school system. I mean, it's just like these horrible systems of settler colonialism. And
it's just not just California too. Once you deep dive through all that, you're just like,
it's
oh my god. That's why I said you
it's
gotta,
terrible.
with a bunch of tears in your eyes and
It's
emotions, and
yeah.
how are you even learning from this?
Yeah.
And you have to learn it to understand once you get into that seat at the table what you've been through with the
Yeah.
historic trauma. That's always something that you read and understand.
But also know it. So if
Mhm.
anybody else tries to downplay it or try
Exactly.
to say
Mhm.
something
Because
different,
they
you'll be
don't
like,
know who
nope,
you are.
that's not. Mhm.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Let's see what we have here. So I just want to say somebody had said gratitude and peace. Thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching.
Absolutely. And of course, there's trolls on here as well. Always with the trolls.
I want to hear it.
Oh yeah, he loves
I
them.
love trolls.
He loves
Oh, you
them.
love the troll. You want me to read one of the trolls?
read
Okay,
it.
yeah. Let's
man.
I grew up.
let's
I
go
grew up
after
with
it.
drunks and all that, and I actually grew up BSing.
Yeah, he says, can we just agree that your ancestors bit off more than they could chew and had their asses handed to them? Cry me a river. Well, let me. Can I address that first?
I
and then I'll
wish
let
we
you.
had a river. Damn.
Yeah.
In California drought, bud. Jeez, man, no one's crying. Shit, I cry me a river too, man. Please.
So, what I always tell people, first of all, nobody got their asses handed to them because we're all sitting here today,
Mhm,
right? That's number one.
Including you, bud. Including you.
Including you, yeah.
You, yeah.
And
one of us.
and do your history, pal. If you look at the Indian Wars, I think Native people were very successful. It took about 350 years for settlers to take over, and they still never really fully have taken over the land. And the reality is that tribal people have existed since time immemorial here on this land, and they will exist into the future. So as far as getting your ass handed to you, if you were here, I would hand your ass to you right now.
Yeah, because it's jitsu. I would kick back with you and have some fun with you. Just
I'd put
to
him to
have
sleep.
fun. I would invite you though.
I'm just playing. I wouldn't. We would sit you here and we would just educate you and send you out of here in a good way. What do you think? What do you think about that?
That's the right thing to do.
No, I think like historically, like just people could say a lot of things, but it's all just words. Meaningless words. It's all made up.
Well said.
Realistically, it's what we talked about, what people grew up with, what they have, and how brave they are online or whatever. It doesn't matter. But once you get in the field with someone, once you get in the area with somebody, once you get face to face somebody, that person might be cool.
Yeah.
You're just talking. It's a regular human connection, and that's why I develop a lot of partnerships with people because they're like, oh, you're just Indian or native, whatever. But it's just like let's go hang out. Let's go shoot something. Let's go have some fun. I'll show you the res. Let's go check it out. Let's actually enjoy life. That's the thing of how I take people along, and just actually know each other. Because
I like
someone,
that.
I don't care what they say. They can say whatever they want. It don't affect me. The only opinions that matter is what my kids say. That's the only thing that matters to me. I don't care what anybody says.
Not even me?
No. I stay standing what I said.
I love that, Johnny. I love that. Yeah. I mean, and I think that's such a.
They're just words.
Yeah, they're just words.
My life is my life. Your life is your life.
That's what I learned from him. Like, I'm ready for like fight or argue or I get mad. He's like, why or what? They're just whatever. Just forget about them. Like,
I'm just thanking you for commenting.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah,
thank you for the view.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah. I mean, every time, because, I just got going on TikTok back in December and sharing a lot of Native history, and man, the trolls, they come out of the woodwork. And at first it would bother me a little bit. And then I just kind of sat back and realized, first of all, they're helping the algorithm.
Number one, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comment. Thank you for the boost.
Thank you for the hate.
Yeah, and then secondly, honestly, it doesn't matter what they say. It really doesn't matter. And I try to stay more focused in on the people who are willing to listen. And then I've had conversations with people where I feel like I've had maybe a little bit of a breakthrough where I've kind of gone back and forth with folks. And at the end of the conversation, it was, what, thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. And, I feel like,
you enlighten them.
If I can, that's great. If I can't, that's fine too. At the end of the day, there's going to be some people who are willing to listen. They like it that you share. Then there's going to be people who are just going to sit back and take shots, and that's fine. Yeah. I'm going to keep doing the things that I do, and you're going to keep, growing your business, enjoying yourselves, enjoying life, doing things on your terms. And I think that's, at the end of the day, I feel like that's what we should all be doing. If some people don't want to do that and they want to take shots at others, then fine, so be it. Yeah. The haters are going to be there.
Man, don't matter to me. Yeah, don't matter to me, man. The best insult that I got called.
Yeah.
I love creative humor. That's my thing. I love
I
creative
know,
humor.
even
No
when
matter what they say or what anybody says, I'm like, oh, that was a good one. No, that one's like, you could do better. I tell people, you could do better. Come
Try
on.
again.
Try again. You could do better. The best thing that I got called was a wagon burner. You effing wagon burner.
Oh,
And I was like,
wagon burner?
oh my God, that's funny.
What is that?
Like the Indians, they burned the wagons back then,
Yeah.
With
Like,
them in it?
Circle
No,
the
like us getting their wagon and burning it.
because they're going
The settlers
to,
during the gold rush time.
yeah, coming over here on wagons.
Uh-huh.
Oregon
so-
Trail people know talk about.
Yeah.
So then we would burn their wagons to stop them from coming, the natives.
So you got called a wagon burner?
So you got I was like, man, that's funny. I wasn't even mad. I was like, that's pretty funny, but I'll never forget that.
Somebody says, love your channel. I've learned so much. I appreciate that. Joan. And there's all kinds of there's people going back and forth here.
Oh.
Patrick says, decolonize your mind. Yeah, definitely. And there's some other interesting statements here. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to, dealing with, especially online, I mean, when you're, you have to put yourself out there, right? When you're, putting your clothing on display, I mean, you're putting a part of your soul and your spirit out there. And,
Yeah.
Is it hard to do that? And, what's that like, when you're putting together a video, how do you feel? Are you nervous? Like how people are going to react to it? Like what's kind of going on in your mind?
I just get nervous about like what is the video going to be about? How am I going to edit it? Is it going to be catchy? Is it going to get views or comments, or is it going to sell whatever I'm like trying to do from it? And again, all of that just gets stuck in my mind, and then I overwhelm myself, and then I don't want to do it no more. I'm like, forget it. I'm not going to do the video no more. And so then I just don't post anything on social media. So it takes a lot of courage to put it out there sometimes. I have to be sure on what I'm going to make. And then I will always rely to him. I'm like, hey, what do you think about the video? Is it good or this and that? Sometimes he will give me some feedbacks, or sometimes he's just like, just post it. Just do it already.
Yeah, just do it.
Just do it. So then I'm just like, okay, that's it. It's out there. I'll just leave it alone. But it takes a lot of thought and process and courage to put it out there.
It does.
And at first I struggled too with posting stuff or comments and trolls, and like again, he tamed me. He's like, forget about it, don't worry about that. And so
yeah, I mean, you get, both of you have the guts to put yourself on the line, and there's so many people who will never do that. And I think that one of the reasons why people don't want to do it is they're afraid of how people react. And what I always tell everybody that asks me for advice, I let them know, like, some people are going to feel what you do and some people aren't. It's okay. It's like, it's in your heart. What do you want to do? If it's something that you really want in your life to share with the world, whatever it is, your podcast, your artwork, your poetry, whatever it is, like, you just have to go for it. And you have to believe in yourself. And most importantly, whoever isn't liking what you do, that it doesn't even matter.
It's not for them.
Also, some people give you good critical feedback too of, hey, you made a mistake on this. Like reading her fashion, putting pictures up where one side didn't match the other side, and they're like, hey, it's got to match to make it look better and flaunt this way.
Was that?
One of our friends.
Right.
Actually posted and like, hey, it's got to match the other side and it'll look way better. And she didn't take it as like, oh damn, but it was more like a critical feedback. And
like,
oh wow, they're right.
I didn't even see that. Okay,
and she's self-taught where they actually help you and understand of,
So
don't take everything negative. Take it critical feedback.
Yeah.
It was even brave for them to comment or whatever to put that like, oh, you don't take this in a bad way, but this could be done this way to make it look better. And it did. And we've been running with it.
That was at the very beginning too, huh? Yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, you have to be willing to allow people to maybe be a little bit critical of maybe how you do things. I mean, I feel like, sometimes, it's hard when you hear something that you don't really like, but then I have to reflect on it and be like, you know what, maybe that person's right. Maybe I need to focus on doing this a little bit better. And I think that, you have to kind of put aside, you have to do your best to put aside, whatever sensitive part that's inside of all of us. Right. Because, some of us are, I think, a little bit more sensitive than others, maybe. And if somebody does, hit you with a critical statement, I think it's best to try to, take it and to see how you can use it to
You
do
could also
better.
delete it and
That's what I was
whatever
gonna say.
comment. It don't
Yeah.
matter. It's just comments. You have
Yeah.
you, the person, has the ultimate control of your life and what you're
Mhm.
doing. That's
Mhm.
the main thing. No one
Good
controls you,
point.
and besides those laws and all that, who you got to defend. But that you
Yeah.
ultimately are your maker, not just business, but in personal life in general. You are yourself. You are your life, and we could love yourself, doubt yourself, but look in the mirror and know who you are. That's the main thing. That's why I said nothing matters with my kids' opinions.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I hear whatever she talks about every day, but I'm like, that's the ones that matters.
I'm like, are you listening to me? Because he
Yeah,
doesn't say nothing. He's like, you're right
you're right
here.
next to me.
I'm like, but acknowledge me. Say or okay.
So let's talk about the logo. Like, okay, a little bit about how you developed
How it
it,
came about.
how it came about, and whatever else you want to add to that.
So the logo's right here, the circle, the O.I.T. That's the
Oh,
thing.
O-I, the yellow, and then
So
T is the white.
we wanted to incorporate the four corners, so we took the medicine wheel to combine it to everybody, not just Native Americans with the medicine wheel. Certain people use different colors, or certain tribes use different colors. We wanted to incorporate the four corners into how can we do that. So we just turned the wheel,
But I had
opened it
learned
up.
that we also use it ourselves. The circle with the four directions, and
Yeah,
they each have their meaning. So I'm like, oh wow, look, we both have it. So is it? So then we learn like it's indigenous people that have
that's right.
the same medicine wheel. So then that's where our indigenous came about, because it's not just ours. It's like all of ours
I love it.
indigenous traditions. And again, it's not just our traditions. Um,
So you were trying to find
geographical.
something that was more all
Yeah,
encompassing
Yes.
we're
and
trying to include
inclusive.
everybody, not just keep
Inclusive.
I
it
love
off
it.
to Native Americans and
Mm-hmm.
all those terms and all that. We want to include people who are family members of Native Americans. The non-tribal
Yeah,
people. We want to include them because they have family members too, and know people, friends, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
They want to join the tribe. It's the main thing. We want to be part of the tribal member
Or
too
support,
and support the tribe.
be
So
an
we want to,
ally.
we want to include them
yeah,
also. We don't want to have anybody left out. That was the business goal of it, and we wanted to include them and it's for everybody.
empower
Hmm.
empower indigenous people, um, and represent it in a fashionable way.
I love that. I really empowering indigenous people. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the future here? Where are you guys looking to go with the business? And I mean, obviously, you want to. There may be some things you want to keep close to you, but is there anything you can share about what you guys have plans?
So we're still looking at getting more out there and wholesaling. That was our main thing, to take ourselves out of the sales and do a lot of wholesaling for we have a few in shop already that are included in different shops, and also different vendors too who are willing to take our clothes and all that to kind of get us out there, but also represent more. So we're looking at wholesale as a business mindset now to get our clothes in the shops basically
I love
in
Mm-hmm.
it.
different cities or wherever anybody wants to post them up, or if they need more products, don't mind reaching out to us for wholesale. That's what we're looking
Mm-hmm.
at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're listening out there and you're interested in having some products that have an indigenous flair to it, your company is the company to go to.
Yes. Go
Yeah.
to OITClothing.com, reach us out there through our email or on our social media at OIT Clothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're not a big corporation where you're actually messaging us. You're actually
Mm-hmm.
messaging us.
It's either
We're
me or
behind the
him.
camera. Yeah, we're
It's
behind the
beautiful.
the phone that you're messaging, and we're seeing everything that you're sending us to.
Yeah.
Even if people send me messages on my personal one, I barely seen them 2 days ago, inviting me to
Yeah.
an event. I'm like, oh man.
So, I mean, indigenous fashion's really it's taken off right now too.
Yeah, you know what? We would have never thought that was going to happen. We
Yeah.
just at that moment that's what we wanted to do. I for sure didn't think about the future or the word indigenous. I think that word has
Yeah.
been more empowered. It's empowering now.
I agree.
It's commonly used, and I don't know. I didn't think about that then.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you guys are onto something. I mean, I see, so many creators out there, artists who are getting into this
Mm-hmm.
arena
Some
and they're
good.
doing very well for
Yes,
themselves.
And
yes,
we've
very
been going
creative.
since 2016,
Mm-hmm.
so we're not new.
Oh
We've been
yeah.
going for a while already, surviving and thriving and sharing the wealth too.
7 years.
That's beautiful.
7
So where
years.
are you guys going to be in the future here in the next few months? You guys have some locations?
UCLA powwow
Oh, like
coming
events?
up.
Yeah,
Okay, so
events.
you can find us either on our website with our items, but we do pop-ups at powwows or small native indigenous events. The next one should be UCLA next month, May the 6th,
Yeah.
May 5th, May 6th. And usually we'll know about a month or two out on what events we're going to.
We
Or
post them too.
we post them, or if you want us to go to an event, you can reach out to us, let us know, or send us your flyer. If we don't respond to you, please send us another message because somebody doesn't check them all the time, or reach out to me. I keep up with it. But yeah, those, I think that's the only one right now. Mm,
Or if you guys need some talkers or speakers, we do all that too.
yeah.
I
Oh,
do
yeah,
all
yeah.
that
That's
too.
a great point.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if obviously you guys are open to talk, not just bringing out your products, but also talking and
Yeah.
speaking, going to events and
Yes.
sharing
Yeah,
as
it's not
well.
just doing all that. Just
I mean, because
representing.
you've done this for a long time, you have a lot of expertise, obviously, and I don't know if you guys have thought about doing a consulting business. I mean, that's something that.
Oh,
That's under my
consulting.
that's under my
Oh,
marketing
mhm.
business. That's where
Okay.
I link everything from. Yeah.
So do you do consulting? Is that part
Yeah,
of
it's
your?
marketing. So
Okay.
marketing is all consulting work. So I do websites, I do designs, I do a lot of graphics, I do
Social
social
media.
media. It's the main thing. Email marketing. So I basically hand me your thing and I'll do all your digital marketing. That's how I do. That's how I run
So
things.
if you're looking
Mhm.
to, you know, get into that, Johnny's your man for
Yeah,
that.
my
And
company is called Social Marketing Nation. So I wanted to have nation in there, so it was tribal. So it's
I
Social
like it.
Marketing Nation. And it's smnation.com. That's where my website is. And
And
it's
on
created by
Instagram,
me.
and your Instagram is it social?
Marketing Nation. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I know we're coming up on an hour and 30 minutes. This has been fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's been fun.
we can just I could just keep going. Honestly, I keep going and going and going. This has
Me too.
been really great. So I just want you guys maybe to share like the people who've inspired you. You know, I mean, I know you talked a lot about your family, but is there any other people that you want to share, you know, with our listeners, people who've been inspirational to you? It doesn't have to be anybody famous. It could be people in your family.
um, with me, it started off with my mom and my sisters. When we were in Oklahoma when we first started it. That I would have to go to California to get fabric, and my mom and my sisters would help me with like a yard or two, and so
Nice.
they were supporting. They were like buying out some things, and I'll tell my husband or my cousins too. They would buy stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, look, they bought something. He goes, okay, that's good, but we need other people to buy it. Like, it's great support, but he's all like, but we need to get more out there. But my
Right.
family, of course, supported me in their own ways with the business, and his mom as well. All his family, they're great supporters too. They always want to make sure that we succeed in one way or another. Me with him, I know I can always just tell him what's going on, whether he listens to me or not, but he will always give me some advice when I'm struggling on anything else but fashion.
Yeah. So for me, is my family, the parents, and all that. And, actually other leaders who, in the books and all that, that actually reading about them on how they took care of the tribe and how they're understanding during that time and how I can make myself better to take I always look at the Roman Empire too and how they did things historically and how they developed as leaders themselves and how they built this great armies during the time and how can you thrive on that? How can you understand that level and take it to today's world
Mm,
on how everything is so simple now online?
Yeah.
Today's kind of simple, but putting yourself out there, it's just you stopping yourself.
mhm,
That's all it is. But there's also other people out there too that just basically need a hand to take
Yeah.
along with you because they have the same vision and mission as you,
mhm,
but it's just a different way. It's just a different area. It's just a different region, and they're willing to help too, or even take words in to guide you that you have no clue about that you needed. Even
Yeah.
a simple kick in the ass, basically keep going in a certain way, or even to stop spending the night out and let's get this work this done together. It goes a
Yeah.
long way. So the people around me inspire me, not on the powwow trail, but my eagle feathers themselves. I see a lot of stuff with my portal that's behind me as a Northern traditional dancer and with grass dancing. That inspires me to stay on the red road and to also understand where my feathers came from and why I'm holding them, why I have them on, and who I'm going to pass them down to because they're going to live on. And I want to make sure that whoever has my feathers is up to that task, like how I
Yeah.
was up to that task to carry a certain individual's feathers who I see when I dance out there.
Yeah. Beautifully said.
That was
Beautifully
deep.
said. Yeah.
Me, I'm like, oh, my family.
Well, I mean, I like
Okay, what about you?
for me,
Yeah.
honestly, I find inspiration wherever I can get it. I mean, wherever I can get it. Like you had mentioned, like the Roman Empire. Like I love history, so obviously, just reading up on history and just previous leaders and just how they overcame difficulties. I have a lot of respect for like the Stoics, and Marcus Aurelius. He was a Stoic, and I don't agree with everything that obviously he did, and he was a conqueror or whatever. But just the way that he carried himself and like a lot of his philosophy, I really love Stoicism. I don't call myself a Stoic because I just don't even feel like I can be that, but I find inspiration in them and just how they live their life and how they push through difficulties and kind of just choosing to decide how you feel about things and not allowing your emotions to get the best of you and but yeah, just also too just my family to just learning about history. I find a lot of inspiration and indigenous leaders who went through a lot so that we could get here today. And yeah, I just think a lot about just what our ancestors had to do to get us here, and that we have this opportunity in our lives to do something good, or we have this opportunity to maybe not to do anything. And I want to do something. I just want to do something. I don't know, exactly what it's going to be 10 years down the road, but even 10 years, 15, as long as I'm here on this earth, I want to continue to learn. I want to continue to grow. I want to continue to be inspired. And so wherever I can get it, honestly, yeah, wherever I can get it. I mean, you guys inspire me. I mean, I really find people like you to be really interesting because you come from, obviously different backgrounds, but you have found common ground and you're trying to unite communities and bring people together. And I just think we need more of that in this
Gotta
world.
enjoy the world. That's the
Yeah.
thing. Enjoy the day. Let your feet touch the
Exactly.
grass and not the concrete. Enjoy Mother Earth. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
Even if the grass is fake.
Exactly. It doesn't matter if it's authentic or not.
It's a whole different thing.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just and also too, just enjoying our life as well. And I people who are able to work hard but also enjoy life and be grateful. I try to, you know, to follow that lead. I'm inspired by people who can do that because I think sometimes we just get caught up, you know, in maybe people's negativity or our own negativity, and I try to just like not do that, for myself and just try to live a good life and enjoy it.
Take a nice
Yeah.
cruise on your bike, huh?
Oh man, that's where the bike comes into play. Gosh, I wouldn't call it a
mind roll.
cruise though.
Why?
I'm
Let the mind
flying.
go.
Oh.
I'm usually flying at around 110 miles an
Oh
hour.
my god.
I have the governor on my bike, so it won't go over 110. So, but it does go 110. Yeah, no, obviously I'm in a motorcycle club, and that's really where I get a lot of my de-stressing is through just riding my bike and yeah, just having fun in that way. And I do the jujitsu for good health, and that's part of my business. But yeah, I mean, but I think like Johnny, I find inspiration wherever I can get it. If it's in somebody else's history, I love history. I'm a person that just I love to learn, and it doesn't have to be like
About
native.
history
It's just
or-
history. It's just like whatever it is about what people went through, or
Oh, okay.
I'm just really interested in you know uh previous eras and just like uh just how people overcame difficulties, or whether it's like I'm like something like World War II. I'm really fascinated with World War II for whatever reason. It's just
yeah?
like a fascinating war to me. And so, like any type of World War II history, I'm like just a history buff. So I just really love learning about history. And then you find all these little nuggets in there. You're like, wow, I didn't know that. And you find something
Oh.
that somebody who did something really inspirational and their name isn't really well known. I like finding those little things like that.
You know what?
Yeah.
I could say me too, but not from books. But like if I go somewhere different,
Yeah.
let's say like Oklahoma, I'll ask questions to that person. Well, what about this and what about that?
Yeah.
And yeah, I like to
Well, it's not always
learn.
found in books, though.
Mhm.
That's the
It's
thing.
not.
It's
Yeah.
not always found. I've
Mm.
talked to people and I've learned so many crazy things from just meeting somebody and then talking to them.
Mhm.
And they share
Mm.
some crazy history with you. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's not written down anywhere,
Mhm.
And so that kind of stuff is really cool. But yeah, uh,
Well, quick question: have you ever thought about writing a book?
well, I did a dissertation, so that's
What is
pract.
that?
So when you do your PhD,
Like,
you
You said, "Oh my god."
no, I know what you're gonna ask.
when you write when
She's
you
always
when you
not
earn
afraid
a
to say that.
doctorate when you earn a doctorate, you have to typically you have to write a dissertation, which is basically like a book. So
Oh.
I, my dissertation, I think it's 7 chapters long, so it's basically a book. But I never, I ended up teaching, at a community college. I really wanted to be more grassroots. I wanted to be
Mm.
I wanted to be more of an educator. When you're in academia, you can go a couple different ways. You can go the writing books direction where you're just becoming a publisher, but then you spend a lot of time in an office by yourself. You spend a lot of
Mm.
time writing, and I enjoy doing that, but at the same time, I just wanted to be out a bit more. So, and I appreciate people who do that work. I think they're incredible. But yeah, that's something that down the road I thought about maybe writing a book and maybe, I don't know, doing like a memoir. I don't know,
Mm.
something interesting. It doesn't even have to be necessarily about anything to do with my life. Just, I don't know, maybe write a book about both of you.
Oh. Something will come along.
Yeah, but no, that is on my
It's a horror
list.
book.
Oh, okay.
It's a horror book. Oh, I love horror stories.
About your life. About your life, Johnny.
But yeah, no, I mean that's something that
That's cool.
I would possibly like to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm all over the place. Like
Exactly.
I'm all over the place. Like you guys can see, like jujitsu, motorcycles, teaching, podcasting, social media stuff. I don't know. I just
Teaching's enough, though.
exactly teaching. That's
Mhm.
enough. Like that's
Not for
enough right
him.
there.
Not
But
for you.
I'm the kind of person I like to explore, and that's why I wanted you, because you guys are the same way. You guys want to explore different things, and I don't know, like I've always kind of been interested in a lot of different things, and I always felt like, man, just give it a shot.
Mhm.
Maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe the podcasting. I always wanted to do podcasting
Oh
years
yeah.
ago. I wanted to do it,
Oh.
but something held me back. And then finally one day somebody just said, just what you said, just do it. Just freaking do it. And so
Mhm.
one day I figured out how to do a podcast, and I put my first podcast out. It was like a
Mhm.
5-minute podcast. And then from there, now look, I'm sitting here talking to both of you. That's really cool.
Yay.
For
With your whole
2 hours.
setup.
For two exactly. I
5
got my
minutes to 2
my
hours, huh?
Roadcaster Pro. Look at there it
Yay.
is. So, but yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's fun to, I think, live your life out as an adventure and to not limit yourself. And I
Mhm.
guess if there's any advice I give anybody, it's just like, don't limit yourself. Like, believe that you can do just about anything. Obviously, there's some limitations. Like for me, I could never be a civil engineer. I'm horrible at math, right? But, I know there's certain things that, I could be fairly decent at, but I'm not going to be if I don't try and if I
Mhm.
don't do it.
Mhm.
So, yeah, just I tell people, like, go after whatever it is that you want to go after. And if it doesn't work out, well, then you know what? You have a really good experience. You're going to meet a lot of good people. You're going to build a network,
Mhm.
and then you're going to find something that you're really good at. And all those people that you've met along the way, they're going to probably help you out in some way.
Yeah, that's what I learned going out there. It's like you have
Yeah.
to meet people, or you never know who you're going to meet. I had to get out of my comfort zone of being quiet. Like I had to be more talkative, but within
Yeah.
the years I've built myself up. So I'm pretty good with talking to customers that come. And sometimes it's not even all about buying. I'm like just
Yeah.
having a good conversation, and I'll learn stuff from them too.
Just growing the relationships, because
Mhm.
you never know. And I know you can speak to this. You never know who you're going to run into.
Yes, never know.
And I mean, you could run into somebody, and this person has a lot of say in something, and next thing you know, they're putting you
Mm.
out there. And
Mhm.
yeah, I
And
mean,
don't tell me who they are because I'm gonna get nervous. Just let them come to me. Let me have a genuine conversation with them, and then you can tell me who they are afterwards.
Yeah, there's one big event we went to when I was in college, and the person who I was asked her, "Hey, where's the restroom at?"
yeah.
And then she had no clue where it was at, and she was like, oh, "Okay," like that was it. Like, huh? Next thing you know, I found the restroom and went, and then came back, and she was going on stage to do the talk. I was like, "What the?"
He asked the main lady that
the
was
main
in
person who's in
charge.
charge is doing the
Wow.
talk and the speaking, and then I'm like, "You're talking. You don't know where the restroom's at in my head." I'm like, "That's my first thing. Where am
Oh
I going?"
my god.
And you don't
Yeah.
know who you're talking to.
You never know. One time when I went to the world's Indigenous conference on education, Indigenous
Oh,
Peoples
that's
Conference on
cool.
it was in New Zealand. And
Oh,
I
cool.
went there to give like a 30-minute talk, and I had the opportunity to speak in front of this group, right? But who walks into the presentation was somebody I really looked up to, this lady named Linda Smith. She's a Maori author. And I
Oh.
actually had her in my presentation, talked about her,
Wow.
some of her work. And she
Oh.
walks through the door, and I recognized her, and I broke out like in the sweat.
Oh
I was like, I got
no.
so nervous, and she sat like right up front in the middle.
Wow.
And with her and her husband, and I was just like starstruck.
Oh.
But you never know who's going to walk through, you never know who you're going to encounter. And it was really cool because I got to talk to her. I got
Oh,
to,
nice.
just be able to,
Just
share a little bit with her. And yeah, it was really,
That's cool.
it was super, super cool, because you just never know who you're going to run into. Especially both of you guys are on the road a lot. You guys run into all kinds of incredible people, and you never know who's going to walk up to your booth. Seriously,
Mhm.
never know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
like Uncle Phil Hunter, he did a lot out there for our tribal communities over here in California. And once everybody like finds out, who I am and who's your family members, and I tell them who they are, like, "Oh yeah, I know your uncle." And it's always like that. It's always like
Mhm.
that. "Oh, I know your uncle." And then we start talking like, "Man, it's a small world and how things
Yeah.
are." And like, "Wow, you're the next generation, huh?" I'm just like, that's cool to actually. I always tell me like my lifetime actually to see something like that, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, all right, man. Like, what do I do?
Right.
Okay.
Well, I mean, your kids are going to have
They're
that
gonna have that
growing up.
same thing too
They're going to
growing
be
up.
like, man, your dad has done a
Aw.
lot, and they're gonna have expectations on them.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Right.
We even talked about that too with naming our boy. Was he gonna be a Johnny Junior or something else? And I was like,
Mm.
no Junior. It's got to be his own name, own brand, something. I don't want him
Oh
to.
man, I love
I
that.
don't want him to have that on his back of
Mhm.
being Johnny's son, but also having his own name. So that's
Yeah.
what we did. We named him his own
Yeah.
thing.
That was Johnny who brought that up because I
Yeah.
think I was the one that said, "Do you want a Johnny
Yeah, I wanted
Jr.?"
Johnny
Like
Jr. I said
I was like,
no.
I was for it,
Yeah.
but then once he said that, like I
Makes a
totally
lot of
understood it.
sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, because he's gonna blaze his own trail.
Mhm.
Mhm.
He's gonna do something for himself. That obviously a lot of it will be based on the knowledge that
Yeah.
both of you give him,
Trailblaze
the
and all that.
experiences and all that, his family legacy. But he'll get to create his
His
legacy,
own,
his
if he
part of
wants
his.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he won't have that pressure on him.
Mhm.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
think we will make that clear as well to them that they could do what they want as long as it's successful.
Mhm.
Or
But we're gonna look to him to be future leaders, though.
oh yeah, for
Well, I know
sure.
our daughter will though.
Yanessa,
Yeah, our
yeah.
daughter will. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So anything else before we end our show here? Anything you want to
Yeah.
say to our
Yeah.
listeners?
Thank you guys for listening.
Check
Get
my
out of the
notes.
fishbowl. What we talked about,
Got to get out
learning,
of the
going
fishbowl.
out, adventuring out of the fishbowl into wherever you want to go. The aquarium, go see the family and the sea and all that. Whatever ocean. Get out there and meet a lot of people and do your thing. Do what you want to do, meaning for yourself and for everybody with you. That's my main thing. Everything is just opinions out there. It could be facts, but it's up to you to make it that fact. You know,
Yeah.
meaning take it in your heart. That's the main thing. And
Mm-hmm.
always encourage people. Don't discourage them because they probably came a long way to be in that position, and anything could just trigger them. It could be alcohol, it could be suicide, it could be someone that was taken away from them who they're still feeling. Always bring them up. Sometimes they might be the person to save the person who you're looking for. You never know. You never know these things. That person might be someone that helps you in the future when
Yeah.
you need that help yourself in the same position as them. It's always good to say hello, hi to people, even if you don't know who they are. Just enjoy life. That's my main thing. Just day by day, enjoy life.
My main thing that when I'm at pop-ups, I'll be like, "Hi, how are you?" And then they'll be like, "Good." I'm like, "Are you enjoying the powwow?" "Yeah, this is my first powwow that I'm going to." And then that will take me into a whole different conversation of like, "Oh yeah, well, how do you like it? What have you learned? Do
Yeah.
you have questions?" And because you never know who you're meeting, where they're at, what their intentions are at the powwow, and by you just becoming their friend.
Life is crazy because like maybe you had never gone to that powwow. Maybe if she had said, you know what, maybe I'll go to the
Mm-hmm.
next one. Since nobody's going to go with me, I'll wait till somebody can go with me. Just how different
That
your
happened
life
the
would
first
be.
year. I had missed it, or nobody wanted to go with me. And then the second time it came around, then I just decided
Wow.
to
That's
go
so
on my
crazy.
own.
But Yendi's a go getter like that. It's like, I'll just go. Bye.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Eventually I get frustrated. I'm like, I'll do it by myself. Why am I waiting on somebody?
You got anything here on your list here you wanna cover?
I wrote down on stuff. I don't know if you want to go back
Yeah,
to
we can go
think because you're
back.
trying to close it out.
Yeah. Well, we can go back. Yeah, let's do it.
Because one of the things you wanted to talk about is what we agree on and disagree
Yeah,
with
that's a
business.
good one. Yeah. So where are the agreements and disagreements? Where they lie typically?
She knows how to get out of a headlock. She knows how to get out of a full Nelson.
Uh, there will be times that I want to make certain moves and make certain purchases for the business, and he will stop me from it and give me a different perspective of like why I'm doing it, or it's not your time to do that, or let's use up what we have now before you move on
Yeah.
to something else. And I'll have like inventory at the house, and he'll be like, "No, we need to move on with this." I'm like, "No, but I need to think ahead because once this is done, I need to be ready for my next thing." But then he will tell me like, "No, you need to do this first before you move on to something else because that creativeness that
Yeah.
I'm going." And he's like, "No, stop the business mindset." He's like, "Work on this first." And then sometimes I will agree on it or not. If I don't, I'll just step away and then I'll be like, "Okay, fine, you were right." And then I will go with that.
In definition of that, it's kind of like the employee and manager standpoint, where the
Yeah.
manager knows what needs to be done, and the employee's doing their thing, and it's like, no, we got to do this first to get the report and all that before you move on to the next projections. That's basically what we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you're talking about, I mean, you're making something.
She's talking about manufacturing, making, developing, all that, and that's also time and money that she's
A
spending
lot of time.
Yeah,
and
on
he-
products. And I'm just like, you got to go back to this because I need that time and money so I can cancel out that expense. That's business standpoint as
Yeah.
manager rolling
Mhm.
back because she's ready over here, but the money is right here that we need to develop the expenses, develop the business itself. But we haven't covered that yet, so we need to before we get to that next motion.
Then I could get frustrated because I'm like, "No, we need to keep going. I need to do this." And yeah, he would just tell me like, the business mindset of it, and like he's calculating the numbers. Like, "No, you can't do that yet. You need to wait right
Man.
here."
Yeah, because I provide a service. It's a lot different than making a product. Making a product, there's the overhead is probably a little
Well, the
different.
service for you could be like, hey, you're developing this one person right now, and you're developing them,
Yes.
but I got 5 more at the door waiting for you, bud. Like, what are you gonna do? How far are you gonna develop this person when I got 5 more who are willing to pay, willing to learn right now, who
Yep.
actually,
More
are
committed.
they're coachable right now. They're coachable.
Yeah.
They're waiting for you out there. How much time are you gonna spend right here?
Yes.
Also, that's away from your family too that you're spending time because I got 5 more at the door waiting for you. That's another service.
No,
thing
it's really
to
interesting.
go on
Yeah.
your field, and that's how I get her with the products the same way. It's like, what are you doing? We got to develop this first. Is the opposite. I got to get these products done before I could get them out there. But then we'll work on them. It's the opposite.
It's so interesting the way you put it. Yeah, because when you're
I always
developing,
have that words of how
you
to.
opened up his
yeah,
mind.
you know, you just open up. No, it's seriously,
It's
because
true.
it is true, because you have to think about like the person that you're working with. They have their goals, right? They're paying you, you know, to provide a service to them so that way they can achieve their goals. But you have these other people who have different goals, and you have
Yes.
people outside the door.
Some want to lose weight. Someone just want to be active. Some just want to learn.
Yes.
And then you want to champion, right?
Exactly. So you know it. You just hit the nail right on the head. Yeah. No, it's always
I don't even
thinking.
know what I haven't stepped inside your business.
I know.
One
He
day.
just
I'm just
basically
like that.
explained my
That's how
business.
good he is.
Yeah, you just explained my business. Yeah. And then thinking about, you know, because I've been thinking a lot about, okay, the 5 people outside the door. You know, how am I going to get those folks in? You know, and who are those people going to be? Are they going to be the one who wants to be the competitor? Are they the ones who wants to just have
They
some
also
friends?
represent your brand too.
Exactly.
Who are they? That's another thing. Who
Yeah.
are
Dang.
Yeah, there, man, owning.
they? Got him.
You got
Yeah.
He's just like,
man, I'm gonna
opened up. Damn.
exactly. Well, it's funny because these are
I'm a
the things
marketer,
I've
man.
really
That's
been
the
thinking
thing, man.
about.
That's
I've
the
really
thing.
been thinking a lot about it, and
Business guy, man.
yeah,
You gotta help him out.
No, you know, it's funny because I've had people tell me like, man, you have because I've slowly kind of built this brand up, and but, you know, I have a full-time job too.
Yeah,
it's
that's
scary.
a
Like
lot.
You
it's a
gotta
lot.
hire a marketing guy.
It's you know what the thing about if I hired Johnny, who knows, I might be then sitting on some empire I can't even handle.
There you go.
That's what honestly I'm afraid of that. I'm a little afraid of like creating something that is just too much for me. That is a fear, because I saw this massive growth when I moved my business to a commercial location.
Mhm.
Awesome.
It just like my business just like boom, like almost doubled.
That's
Nice.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yes.
Good.
That's
And
great.
Are you scared to let go of control?
I'm scared of not being able to handle it all. That's what frightens me.
Then are you scared to hire somebody to work for you?
I am a little bit in that sense that I feel like I'm afraid that if I do something like that, that it takes away the fact it's personal.
Earlier, like 30 minutes in, he said, "That's mine." That was his first thing.
Yeah.
His ambition is that's mine. Me,
Mhm.
I'm willing to sell and go and move on to my next thing.
You
Kick
are.
back. See that? There's nothing
Yeah.
controlling me. That's what separates us. Where he
Yeah.
said at the very beginning, "That's mine. That's my thing that I have." And me, I'm like, "That's
Yes.
mine," but you rebrand it, redo your thing. So he has that control in his head. Like, I got to take care of my students. Got to take care of both of my students,
Yes.
professor and
Yes.
jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Where he's he's in the half, which is fine, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's also a struggle because you have them in here.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's really yeah, it scares me a little bit because I think about, well, if it gets so big and it doesn't, and the mission has always been about, you know, building a community and just creating something that is healthy for people. But what if it's not healthy for me? You know, what if I don't feel good about it, and then, you know, it becomes something that's just, I don't know, something that I don't really feel like I want to do. And so that's what worries me a little bit. But yeah, because I saw this growth. My business almost doubled in literally like less than 6 months.
That's a win.
Yeah.
That's a win. It is a win.
That is a huge win,
It's
right?
a huge win, but you're not appreciating the little battle.
Yeah.
That's something that gets to me. And people tell me a lot, like, I'm always like, yeah, I did it, but let's go.
What's the next thing?
What's the next thing? But sometimes you gotta celebrate the little victories. That's a big victory itself.
Absolutely.
That people out there dream of to have. And you're just like, oh yeah, but I gotta do.
I know. No, it is. I sit back and, you know, I had a podcast with one of my very first jiu-jitsu student.
Nice.
We sat back and we were just like, man, look where we started. Look where my first jiu-jitsu student, and he's still with me today.
Oh, nice.
It's such a blessing. It's such a beautiful thing when I think about it. And I'm just like, man, like, look where we came from and look where we've been able to build together, you know. And anyway, it's just really, it's really cool. It's very, very cool. But you know, with the business, you also know that there's the valleys, right? And so always prepare my mind, like enjoy it each and every day, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. You don't know. Like COVID, I thought COVID was going to kill my business. I thought I was it. I almost said, you know what, forget it. I'll just turn in the keys and I'll just shut down my business.
Oh yeah.
And I decided to keep it going, and I decided to push through. And that my kind of business, COVID is just, it destroyed all kinds of martial arts businesses, just completely went under, never even reopened. Somehow, some way, I was able to. I had the right clientele, people who wanted to stick with me, and made it possible for me to keep this thing going. And so, yeah, I really feel very blessed and lucky that I was able to survive that. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact I didn't overextend myself too. I took it step by step. I let it grow organically. I didn't try to do too much that I couldn't handle. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, growing your, yeah, go ahead.
I'm glad you are where you're at now with the business.
So am I. I mean, so am I. Like I said, to grow like it grew so fast, it really tripped me out. I was like, I don't know, because you don't know when you make a move, you don't know.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't know.
And then all of a sudden, when things turn out, you're like, dang, man, this is really crazy. I'm like, this is really, really crazy. So there's always more room to grow. Johnny knows this, and yeah, we'll see what the future holds. And
I'm racing right now.
And at some point in time, like I have thought about eventually selling it, selling the business, because I don't feel like I'm going to want to do this forever. But right now, this is where I'm at. But I do want it to keep going. I do. When I'm done with it, I want it to keep going. And if that means, selling to somebody I trust who would, keep
hiring the right staff to take care of it,
or doing that.
That's the easy thing to do first.
Yeah.
Hiring the right staff to get them in to do, the mission and goal and keep everything steady, and the right financial person to handle the background.
Exactly.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
Easy as that.
We did 2 hours, you all. Oh my goodness, this is crazy. So I appreciate this conversation that we had. So amazing, so lovely. It says small victories are often the best.
Yes, they are.
Never fear the unknown. Embrace it.
Thank you. Yeah,
oh man, so true. So true.
Scroll up.
Have a great day, everyone. Never fear. Yeah, fear. Let's see. You all are inspirational. Love it. Thank you. Time is time for everyone. Love my Native brothers and sisters. Enjoy the best life. Best thing said on this podcast. Enjoy life. Enjoy life. Yes. Gotta enjoy life every single day. Every single day. I try to. Yeah.
But with 2 kids and the business,
but they're gonna grow quick.
I know.
Frank says, great medicine. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening and tuning in.
And connect with nature, connect with others, connect with yourself. Thank you for saying that. Vote for Pedro. Oh, looks like the troll left. That's good. Stay awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Alfred. Thank you. I appreciate that. And God bless from Patrick.
Thank you, everybody that has been watching the whole thing. I know I don't know. We didn't expect for it to go this long.
I don't know. I kind of did. I did, because I felt like there was a lot to talk about here. I kind of thought this is going to go at least an hour and 30 minutes. So we hit the 2 hour mark. So I think there's so much here, so much that we got to cover. I hope you all would be willing to do it again in the future.
Look, I'm all like excited to do this now. I'm so nervous.
Seriously, I think we should do
the same tone.
I think we should do it again.
I would definitely do it again.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Let's get the outro music going here.
Come on, Mr. DJ.
I got to work on the outro music. Let me tell you, I got to get somebody to do, I don't know, something that's something that's me. Yes. I got to get somebody that knows me, but knows how to do music. I've had people do some beats for me, but I think I want like some hip hop or something. Wow. Yeah. Jamie Nelson, he's Jamie Nelson?
Yeah, I know Jamie Nelson.
Yeah, maybe have him. He talked about doing something for me.
Wow.
So, yeah.
We got to talk to Jamie.
It's got to get better than this, though.
This is good for now.
This will work. So
we're learning, right?
So exactly. So this is the 7 Generation podcast, also the Talking Stick as well. Yeah. What a great day.
Nieto,
Yendi.
Yeah. Dr. B.
Dr. B.
AKA Merciless on TikTok.
Thank you so much for having us on. This
Oh.
was so fun. And
I appreciate y'all. Seriously, a lot of great content here, and I can't wait to come back to the table and do it again.
And you guys can follow me on Instagram, my personal Tule River Zone. I have a lot of comedy on there, just dumb stuff.
memes.
Memes. No, just making people laugh. That's about it.
You want to laugh a little?
You can watch him drive around in his convertible.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the convertible
Mario
shots the other day.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Till next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
3, 2, 1.